In the shadowy, storm-battered Castle Dunmore, Hercule Poirot faces a deadly mystery. Anonymous letters lure a group of strangers, each hiding secrets to uncover the lost Dunmore jewels. When a scream echoes and a body drops, poisoned Poirot's sharp mind unravels a web of clues. A locket, a ruby, a coded book, and a skeleton buried in the castle's depths. As attacks multiply and eerie sounds haunt the halls, Poirot exposes a killer among them, driven by greed and a 20-year-old murder. Will he solve the chilling truth before the castle claims another life? Chapter 1: The Mysterious Invitation. Hercule Poirot sat in his cozy London flat, sipping a steaming cup of hot chocolate. The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow on his neat desk. His mustache, perfectly curled, twitched as he read a strange letter that had arrived with the dawn post. The paper was old, yellowed at the edges, and the handwriting was sharp, like someone had pressed the pen too hard. It wasn't signed, which made Poirot's dark eyes narrow with curiosity. "Mon ami," he said to Captain Hastings, who lounged in an armchair nearby, flipping through a newspaper. "This letter is most peculiar. It speaks of a matter of great importance, yet it hides the sender's name. What do you make of it?" Hastings, a tall man with a friendly face and a habit of missing the obvious, put down his paper. "Let's hear it then. What's got you so interested?" Poirot cleared his throat and read aloud. "Dear Monsieur Poirot, your fame as a detective is unmatched. A grave mystery awaits at Castle Dunmore, deep in the Scottish Highlands. Come at once. Lives may depend on it. Tell no one. Arrive by the 15th of October. A carriage will meet you at Glenmore Village." The letter ended there, with no name or address. Poirot tapped it against his chin, his mind already racing. "It is a challenge, Hastings, a puzzle wrapped in a riddle. And I, Hercule Poirot, cannot resist such a thing." Hastings frowned. "Sounds fishy to me. Could be a prank. Or worse, a trap. Why go all the way to Scotland for some anonymous note?" Poirot smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Because, my friend, the anonymous is often the most revealing. Someone fears to show their hand, yet they need Poirot's little grey cells. That fear, that need it, is a clue itself. We shall go to this Castle Dunmore and uncover the truth." Hastings sighed, knowing he couldn't change Poirot's mind. "All right, but I hope it's not a wild goose chase. Scotland's a long way, and October's chilly up there." "Pack your warmest coat, mon ami," Poirot said, already rising to prepare. "We leave tomorrow." The train to Scotland rattled through green hills and misty valleys, its whistle piercing the crisp autumn air. Poirot, dressed in a sharp suit and overcoat, gazed out the window, his mind on the letter. Hastings, beside him, munched on a sandwich, grumbling about the early start. The journey took them north, where the land grew wilder, the trees and the sky heavier with clouds. By evening, they reached Glenmore, a tiny village nestled in a valley. The station was little more than a wooden platform, and the air smelled of damp earth and pine. A horse-drawn carriage waited, its driver a gaunt man in a black cloak. His face was half hidden by a scarf, and he spoke in a low, rough voice. "You're the ones for the castle?" "Indeed," Poirot said, stepping forward. "I am Hercule Poirot, and this is Captain Hastings. You are sent to fetch us." The driver nodded, saying nothing more. He gestured to the carriage, and Poirot and Hastings climbed in, their bags stowed behind. The horses snorted, and the carriage lurched forward, creaking along a winding road. The village faded behind them, its few lights swallowed by the growing dark. Cheerful fellow, Hastings muttered, pulling his coat tighter. And this road's rough as anything. Where's this castle, anyway? Poirot's eyes scanned the shadowy landscape. Patience, Hastings. The letter said, Castle Dunmore is remote. Such places often hold secrets. The road climbed higher, twisting through craggy hills. Mist curled around the carriage, thick and cold, muffling the clop of hooves. Hastings shivered, peering out. Looks like a place for ghosts. You sure about this, Poirot? Ghosts do not write letters, Poirot said firmly. Men do, and men have motives. After an hour, the carriage slowed. Through the mist, a dark shape loomed, a massive stone structure, its towers jagged against the stormy sky. Castle Dunmore. Its walls were crumbling, covered in ivy, and its windows stared like empty eyes. The gates, rusted iron, groaned as the driver pushed them. Open, good heavens, Hastings whispered. It's like something out of a nightmare. Poirot's expression stayed calm, but his gaze was sharp. A castle is but stone and mortar, Hastings. It is the people within who make it fearsome. The carriage stopped in a courtyard overgrown with weeds. The driver pointed to a heavy wooden door. In there, he grunted, then turned to tend the horses. Poirot and Hastings grabbed their bags and approached the door. It creaked open before they could knock, revealing a tall, thin man with pale skin and deep-set eyes. He held a flickering lantern. You must be Monsieur Poirot, the man said, his voice low and clipped. I'm Grimshaw, the caretaker. Welcome to Castle Dunmore. Thank you, Monsieur Grimshaw, Poirot said, stepping inside. Hastings followed, glancing warily at the caretaker. The entrance hall was vast, its stone floor cracked, its walls hung with faded tapestries. A grand staircase spiraled up into darkness, and a cold draught swept through, making the lanterns flame dance. Charming place, Hastings said, trying to sound cheerful. Bit drafty, though. Grimshaw's lips twitched, but he didn't. Smile. The castle's old. Not many come here anymore. Follow me. The others are waiting. Others. Poirot's eyebrow rose. We were not told of company. Grimshaw didn't answer, leading them down a corridor lit by more lanterns. The air grew heavier, smelling of dust and damp. Shadows flickered on the walls, and Hastings kept close to Poirot, his hand near his coat pocket where he kept a small revolver. They entered a large room with a roaring fireplace, its light pushing back the gloom. 5 people sat around a long table, their faces turning as Poirot and Hastings arrived. The group was a mix of ages and styles, but all looked uneasy, as if they didn't belong. Grimshaw gestured to the table. These are the guests. Sit. I'll fetch supper. He left, his footsteps echoing. Poirot took a seat, his eyes moving from face to face, studying each person. Hastings sat beside him, whispering, What's this lot doing here? They don't look happy. Observe, Hastings, Poirot murmured. Their faces tell stories. We shall learn them soon. The first guest, a short man with glasses and a nervous twitch, spoke up. I'm Dr. Alistair Cobb, historian. Got a letter asking me to come. Said it was about the Dunmore family. You get one too. Indeed, Poirot said smoothly. I am Hercule Poirot, detective. This is my friend, Captain Hastings. Your letter was, it's signed. Cobb shook his head. No, just said to come by the 15th. Thought it odd, but, well, the Dunmores are my specialty. Couldn't resist. A woman with red hair and a sharp voice cut in. I'm Clara Vance, journalist. Same deal, got a letter, no name. Said there's a big story here. I'm not leaving till I get it. She leaned forward, her eyes darting. What's your angle, Poirot? Poirot smiled politely. Merely to uncover the truth, Mademoiselle Vance. The third guest, a thin man with paint-stained hands, stayed quiet, staring at the fire. His clothes were worn, his face pale. Lucien Moreau, he said finally, his voice soft. Artist. I don't know why I'm here, the letter said. I'd find answers. Answers to what? Hastings asked, but Moreau just shook his head, looking away. The fourth guest, a woman in an expensive fur coat, spoke with a haughty tone. I'm Lady Evelyn Harrow. My family knew the Dunmores. Years ago, the letter hinted at. Unfinished business. I came to settle it. She clutched a pearl necklace, her fingers trembling slightly. The last guest, a burly man with a grey moustache, snorted. Colonel Reginald Blake. Retired. Got a letter saying my old friend, Lord Dunmore, needed help. Nonsense, since he's been missing for years, but I owed him a debt, so here I am. He glared around, as if daring anyone to challenge him. Poirot nodded, his mind cataloguing their words, their looks, their nerves. A curious gathering, he said. All called by letters, all unsigned. And you, Monsieur Grimshaw. He turned as the caretaker returned, carrying a tray of bread and stew. Grimshaw set the tray down, his face blank. I got no letter. I live here, keep the place standing. Whoever sent you lot didn't tell me. Yet you expected us, Poirot said, his tone gentle but probing. Grimshaw shrugged. Heard a carriage was coming, that's all. He left again, leaving the group to their meal. The stew was plain but warm, and the bread was stale but filling. As they ate, the guests traded uneasy glances. Clara Vance broke the silence. So, what's this castle's deal? Cobb, you're the expert. Spill it. Cobb pushed up his glasses, eager to talk. Castle Dunmore's over 300 years old. Built by the Dunmore family, wealthy landowners. They were powerful till about 20 years ago, when Lord Alistair Dunmore vanished, left behind a wife, Lady Margaret, and a pile of debts. Rumours said he stole a fortune in Jules' family heirlooms and ran off. Others said he was murdered. The castle's been empty since, except for Grimshaw. Jules, eh? Clara's eyes gleamed. That's a story worth chasing. Rubbish, Colonel Blake snapped. Alistair was a good man. He wouldn't steal. Something happened to him, mark my words. Lady Evelyn sniffed. The Dunmores were always trouble. My father warned me about them. Said they were cursed. Hastings leaned forward, his sandwich forgotten. What's that mean? Cobb hesitated. Just village talk. People say the castle's haunted. Disappearances, strange lights, noises at night. Lord Dunmore's mother died here, fell from a tower. Some say her ghost still walks. Hastings shivered. Ghosts. I don't like the sound of that. Poirot chuckled softly. There are no ghosts, Hastings. Only secrets. And secrets I shall uncover. Moreau, the artist, spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. The castle feels wrong, like it's watching us. Clara rolled her eyes. Spare me the spooky nonsense. We're here for answers, not fairy tales. The fire crackled, sending sparks up the chimney. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. Poirot sipped his water, his mind working. 5 guests, each with a letter. A caretaker who knew more than he said. A castle tied to a missing lord and stolen jewels. And a letter that brought him here, to this cold, dark place. Grimshaw returned, clearing the plates. Rooms are ready upstairs. Follow me. The group rose, grabbing their bags. Poirot lingered, his eyes on the table where Clara had left a crumpled napkin. He picked it up, smoothing it out. A faint ink mark caught his ajar, single word, scrawled in haste. Danger. He tucked it into his pocket, his face unreadable. The staircase creaked under their feet as Grimshaw led them up. The air grew colder. The lanterns dimmer. Portraits lined the walls, their painted eyes seeming to follow. Hastings nudged Poirot. This place gives me the creeps. Courage, mon ami, Poirot whispered. The creeps are but a shadow. The truth is light. Grimshaw stopped at a row of doors. Pick a room, they're all the same. Lock the door, don't wander. He handed out keys, then vanished down the stairs. The guests chose rooms, muttering. Good nights. Poirot and Hastings took a room with 2 narrow beds and a small fireplace. The window overlooked the courtyard, where the carriage was gone. The driver nowhere in sight. Hastings flopped onto his bed, yawning. What a day. You really think there's a mystery here, Poirot? Poirot stood by the window, gazing at the mist. Oh yes, Hastings. A mystery deep and dark. The letters, the guests, the castle, they are threads in a web. And at its heart lies a spider, waiting. He turned, his voice firm. Tomorrow we begin. Poirot does not rest until all is clear. Hastings pulled up his blankets. Just hope the spider's not too big. Poirot smiled, but his eyes stayed sharp. He blew out the candle, and the room fell dark, save for the faint glow of the fire. Outside, the wind screamed, and Castle Dunmore stood silent. Its secrets locked tight. The storm grew wilder, thunder rumbling like a giant's footsteps. Poirot lay awake, his mind turning over the day's clues. The letter, unsigned. The guests, uneasy. The napkin, marked with warning. And Grimshaw, the caretaker, whose eyes held a shadow of fear or guilt. He rose, careful not to wake Hastings, and moved to his bag. From it, he pulled the letter, reading it again by the fire's glow. The words were a summons, a plea, a trap. But whose hand had written them, and why? A sound broke his thoughts, a faint creak, like a floorboard under weight. He froze, listening. Another creak, closer now. Someone was in the hall. Poirot slipped to the door, his hand on the knob. He opened it a crack, peering out. The corridor was dark, the lanterns out. A shadow moved at the far end, swift and silent. It paused, then vanished around a corner. Poirot's heart beat steady. He closed the door, locking it. The game is begun, he whispered, and Hercule Poirot shall play it to the end. He returned to his bed, but sleep did not come. The castle was alive, its secrets stirring. Tomorrow he would hunt them, one by one, until the truth stood bare. For now he waited, his little grey cells ready. As Castle Dunmore whispered its mysteries into the night, the morning dawned grey, the storm still raging. Poirot and Hastings dressed quickly, the room cold despite the fire's ashes. Downstairs, the guests gathered for breakfast, porridge and tea, served by Grimshaw. The mood was tense, the air thick with suspicion. Poirot spoke first, his voice cutting through the silence. Mies Amos, we are here for a purpose. Someone called us to this castle. Someone knows why. I ask you now, has anyone received another message? A note, a sign? The guests shook their heads, but Poirot saw Clara's hand tighten on her cup. Moreau's eyes dropped to his plate. They were hiding something. Then we explore, Poirot said. This castle holds answers. We search together, yes. Colonel Blake nodded. Good plan, I'll take the library. Might be old letters or records. I'll check the towers, Clara said. High places hide things. Lady Evelyn sniffed. I'll stay here. This place is filthy. Cobb adjusted his glasses. I'll go with the Colonel. The library's my kind of place. Moreau said nothing, but he followed Clara, his steps soft. Poirot noted it, all their choices, their eyes, their lies. Hastings, we shall see the grounds, Poirot said. Perhaps the courtyard speaks where walls are silent. Grimshaw watched them go, his face a mask. Don't touch what's locked, he warned. Some doors stay shut for a reason. Poirot smiled. Monsieur Grimshaw, locks are but challenges, and Poirot loves a challenge. The groups split off, the castle swallowing them. Poirot and Hastings stepped into the courtyard, the mist thick and cold. The stones were slick, the air heavy with the scent of rain. Poirot's eyes scanned the walls, the ivy, the broken fountain. Look here, Hastings said, pointing to a patch of mud. Footprints, fresh and deep, led from the gate to a side door. Someone was out last night. Poirot knelt, studying. The prints, a man, heavy, with worn boots. Our driver, perhaps another. And see, he pointed to a smaller mark, a faint line, like a dragged rope. Something was moved. Hastings frowned. What's it mean? Poirot stood, his eyes bright. It means, mon ami, that Castle Dunmore is not so abandoned as it seems. Come, we follow. They traced the prints to the door, finding it unlocked. Inside was a narrow passage, dark and damp, leading deep into the castle. Poirot paused, his hand on the wall. A faint, like blood, caught his nose again. This way, he said, his voice low. The truth lies within. The passage twisted, the air colder, heavier. At its end was a heavy door, its lock rusted but new. Poirot tried it, but it wouldn't budge. Locked, he said, his eyes narrowing, but not for long. A scream echoed from above, sharp and terrified. Hastings spun. That's Clara. Poirot's face was grim. Quickly, Hastings. The spider moves. They raced back, the castle, the scream fading into silence. Castle Dunmore stood dark and vast, its secrets tightening like a noose. Poirot's mind burned, ready to cut through the shadows. The mystery had begun, and he would not stop until it was done. Chapter 2. The Gathering of Strangers. The scream still echoed in Hercule Poirot's ears as he and Captain Hastings raced through the dim corridors of Castle Dunmore. The stone walls seemed to swallow the sound, leaving only a heavy silence. The air was cold, thick with the smell of damp and decay, and the lanterns flickered, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts. Poirot's polished shoes clicked on the floor, his small frame moving with purpose, while Hastings, taller and less steady, struggled to keep up. Clara. Hastings called, his voice bouncing off the walls. Where are you? Poirot raised a hand, signalling quiet. Listen, mon ami. The castle speaks if we hear it. They paused at a junction where the corridors split. One path led to the grand staircase, its steps lost in darkness. The other twisted toward the towers, where Clara Vance had said she'd explore. A faint thud came from the tower path, like something heavy falling. Poirot's dark eyes sharpened. "This way," he said, moving swiftly. Hastings followed, his hand brushing the revolver in his coat pocket, ready for trouble. The passage narrowed, the ceiling low and webbed with cracks. Cobwebs clung to the walls, and the air grew colder, as if the castle itself were breathing. Frost. Poirot's mind raced, piecing together the morning's clues, the anonymous letters, the nervous guests, the footprints in the mud, and now Clara's scream. Someone or something was stirring in Castle Dunmore, and Poirot meant to find it. They reached a spiral staircase, its iron steps rusted but sturdy. The thud came again, louder, from above. Hastings gripped the railing, his face pale. "Sounds bad, Poirot. What if she's hurt? Then we shall help her," Poirot said calmly. "But haste without thought is a fool's path. Stay sharp." Hastings. They climbed, the stairs creaking under their weight. The tower was high, its walls studded with narrow windows that let in slivers of grey light. Rain battered the glass, and thunder rumbled outside, shaking the stones. At the top, a heavy door stood ajar, its hinges groaning as the wind pushed it. Poirot eased it open, stepping into a circular room. The tower was bare except for a splintered table, a broken chair, and a pile of dusty crates. Clara Vance lay crumpled on the floor, her red hair spilled across the stones. Her notebook was beside her, pages torn. A smear of blood marked her temple. Good heavens! Hastings rushed to her, kneeling. "Clara, can you hear me?" Poirot joined him, his fingers checking her pulse. "She lives, Hastings. A blow to the head, but not fatal. Fetch water from our room, quickly." Hastings nodded, dashing back down the stairs. Poirot examined Clara, noting the bruise forming on her temple. The blood was fresh, the wound shallow. He scanned the room, his eyes catching every detail. A shattered lantern near the crates, its oil spilled. A scuff mark on the floor, like boots dragging. And a single feather, black and glossy, caught in a crack. He pocketed the feather, his mind turning. Clara stirred, groaning. Her eyes fluttered open, wild with fear. Poirot, what happened?" "Calm yourself, Mademoiselle Vance," Poirot said, his voice soothing but firm. "You were struck. Do you remember anything?" Clara touched her head, wincing. I was looking around. Wanted to find something for my story. Heard a noise behind me, then nothing." Poirot's mustache twitched. A noise. Footsteps, perhaps. A voice. She frowned, struggling to think. Footsteps, maybe, heavy ones. Then it went black. Hastings returned, panting, with a canteen of water. Clara sipped it, her hands shaking. "Thanks," she muttered. "This place is cursed." "Nonsense," Poirot said. "A human hand struck you, not a curse. Tell me, what were you seeking in this tower?" Clara hesitated, her eyes darting to her notebook. "Just clues. About the Dunmores, the jewels, the disappearance. Anything. To make my story big." Poirot picked up her notebook, flipping through the torn pages. Scribbled notes mentioned jewels, Lord Dunmore, and secret room. One page had a crude sketch of the tower, with an arrow pointing to the floor. "You found something," he said. "What?" Clara shook her head. "Nothing solid, just rumors from the village. They say there's a hidden room in this tower, maybe where the jewels are." Poirot's eyes gleamed. A hidden room, you say, most interesting. Hastings helped Clara stand, steadying her. We should get her downstairs, Poirot. She needs rest. Agreed, Poirot said. But first, we look. If Mademoiselle Vance was attacked, it was for a reason. The reason lies here. They searched the tower, Poirot's sharp eyes scanning every corner. The crates held only mouldy blankets and rusted tools. The table was empty, its surface scarred. But under the broken chair, Poirot found a loose stone in the floor. He knelt, pressing it. A faint click echoed, and a section of the wall groaned, sliding open to reveal a dark passage. Hastings gasped. A secret passage. Good work, Poirot. Poirot's face was grim. Not good yet, mon ami. A passage means secrets, and secrets mean danger. Clara, still shaky, peered into the darkness. That's it, she whispered. That's what I was looking for. Before they could explore, footsteps thundered up the stairs. Colonel Blake burst in, his grey moustache bristling. What's all this? Heard a scream. Vance, you all right? She was attacked, Poirot said, watching Blake's reaction. The colonel's eyes widened, but something flickered in them, surprise, or something else. Attacked, Blake barked. By who? This place is a death trap. Poirot didn't answer, his mind on the feather in his pocket. We shall take Mademoiselle Vance to safety. Colonel, help Hastings. I will follow. They guided Clara down the stairs, her steps slow. The castle felt heavier now, its shadows deeper. Poirot lagged behind, his fingers brushing the passage's entrance. He would return, but not yet. The guests needed watching. Back in the dining hall, the others were gathered, their faces tense. Dr. Alistair Cobb, the historian, pushed up his glasses, his hands twitching. What happened? Is she hurt? Lady Evelyn Harrow clutched her pearls, her voice sharp. This is madness. We're all in danger. Lucien Moreau, the artist, sat silently, his paint-stained hands folded, his eyes fixed on the fire. Grimshaw, the caretaker, stood by the door, his face unreadable. Poirot raised a hand for silence. Mademoiselle Vance was struck in the tower. She will recover, but we must be cautious. Someone among us or outside does not want us here. The group erupted in protests. Outside, Lady Evelyn snapped. There's no one else in this godforsaken place. Perhaps, Poirot said, or perhaps not. Tell me, has anyone seen anything strange? A shadow, a sound. Cobb cleared his throat. I heard something last night, in the library, like papers rustling, but I was alone. Moreau's voice was soft. I saw a light from my window in the woods. It flickered, then was gone. Grimshaw snorted. Woods are full of poachers. Nothing new. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Poachers. Monsieur Grimshaw, in a storm. Most curious. Clara, now seated with a damp cloth on her head, spoke up. I want answers, Poirot. Someone tried to shut me up. Why? Because Poirot said you were close to something. The tower, the hidden passage, it holds a secret someone wishes to keep. The group fell silent, each eyeing the others. Poirot watched them, his mind cataloguing their looks. Cobb's nervous, fidgeting. Lady Evelyn's tight grip on her necklace. Blake's clenched fists. Moreau's distant stare. Grimshaw's stiff posture. We must stay together, Poirot said. No more wandering alone. Tonight, we dine, we talk, we watch. The truth will show itself. Grimshaw brought out a simple meal soup and bread. warm but plain. The guests ate quietly, the only sounds, the clink of spoons and the storm outside. Poirot sipped his soup, his eyes never still. He noticed Clara's notebook, now on the table, its torn pages a clue. He saw Blake glance at Lady Evelyn, a quick look she didn't return. He caught Moreau sketching on a napkin, a rough outline of the castle's towers. After dinner, Poirot pulled Hastings aside. "Mon ami, keep an eye on Clara. She knows more than she says. And watch Grimshaw. His silence is loud." Hastings nodded. "What about that passage? Shouldn't we check it?" "In time," Poirot said. "First, we learn the players. This castle is a chessboard, and we must know the pieces before we move." The night deepened, the storm roaring. The guests retired to their rooms, locking their doors as Grimshaw had warned. Poirot and Hastings returned to their own, the fire low but warm. Hastings sat on his bed, frowning. "This place is trouble, Poirot. Clara's attack, that passage, what's next?" Poirot stood by the window, the rain streaking the glass. "Next, we find the why, Hastings. Why the letters? Why the attack? Why this castle? The answers are here, in the stones, in the shadows." A knock came at the door, sharp and sudden. Hastings jumped, but Poirot opened it calmly. Grimshaw stood there, holding a lantern. "Found something," he said, his voice low, "in the cellar. You should see it." Poirot's eyebrow rose. "Now, Monsieur Grimshaw, in the dead of night." "It's important," Grimshaw said, his eyes darting. "Come alone." Hastings stood, no chance. "I'm coming too." Grimshaw shrugged, leading them downstairs. The castle was silent, the guests asleep or pretending to be. The cellar door was at the end of a dark hall, its wood warped and heavy. Grimshaw unlocked it, revealing a stone staircase descending into blackness. "Careful," he said, handing Poirot a lantern. "Steps are slick." They descended, the air growing damp and sour. The cellar was vast, its walls lined with barrels and crates, some cracked open, spilling straw. Grimshaw led them to a corner, where a heavy cloth covered something large. He pulled it back, revealing a wooden chest, its lock broken, its lid ajar. Poirot knelt, opening it fully. Inside was a bundle of old clothes, stained and torn. But beneath them, something glinted, silver locket, engraved with the letter D. Poirot opened it, revealing a faded photograph of a woman, her face stern but beautiful. "Lady Margaret Dunmore," Grimshaw said. "The Lord's wife. Found it this morning, hidden here." Poirot's fingers traced the locket. "And you kept it secret until now." "Why?" Grimshaw looked away. "Didn't think it mattered. Till the attack. Thought you should know." Hastings frowned. "What's it mean, Poirot? Why hide a locket?" "It means," Poirot said, "that someone wanted Lady Margaret forgotten, or her secrets. Tell me, Monsieur Grimshaw, where was this chest before?" Grimshaw pointed to a wall. "Behind there, false panel. Found it by accident." Poirot examined the wall, finding the panel loose. He pushed it, revealing a small alcove, empty now, but smelling faintly of oil and metal. "A hiding place," he said. "For more than a locket, I think." They returned upstairs, the locket in Poirot's pocket. Grimshaw locked the cellar, saying nothing more. Back in their room, Hastings paced. "This is getting bigger, Poirot. A locket, a passage, an attack. What's it all about?" Poirot sat, the locket in his hand. "It is about the past, Hastings. The Dunmores, their jewels. Their disappearance? Someone here knows the truth, and they fear it coming to light. He opened the locket again, studying the photograph. Lady Margaret's eyes seemed to stare back, holding a story untold. Poirot closed it, his mind racing. The castle was alive with secrets, each one a thread in a tangled web. He would pull them, one by one, until the truth unraveled. As he lay down, the storm howled, and a new sound joined it, a faint eerie hum, like a piano note struck far away. Hastings sat up, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Poirot nodded, his face calm but his mind alert. "The castle speaks, Hastings, and we shall listen." The night stretched on, the hum fading, the storm raging. Castle Dunmore stood silent, its secrets waiting, as Poirot's little grey cells worked, ready to face the darkness. Chapter 3. The ghostly echoes, the eerie hum of the piano note lingered in Hercule Poirot's mind as he lay in the darkness of his room in Castle Dunmore. The storm outside raged, its thunder shaking the ancient stones, but that single, ghostly note cut through the noise like a knife. Captain Hastings, sitting up in his bed, clutched his blanket, his eyes wide. "Poirot, that wasn't the wind. It was a piano, in this old heap of a castle." Poirot sat up, his small frame outlined by the faint glow of the dying fire. "Calm yourself, mon ami," he said, his voice steady but his eyes sharp. "A piano does not play itself. Someone, or something, wishes us to hear it, and Poirot will find out why." Hastings shivered, pulling his coat over his shoulders. "You keep saying it's not ghosts, but that sound. It's unnatural. And after Clara's attack, I'm not so sure." Poirot's moustache twitched, a sign his mind was racing. Unnatural, perhaps, but human. Always human. The locket, the passage, the scream. Now this note, they are pieces of a puzzle. We shall fit them together. He rose, slipping on his shoes and lighting a candle. The room was cold, the air heavy with the smell of damp stone and old wood. The locket from the cellar, with Lady Margaret Dunmore's photograph, sat on the table, its silver glinting in the candlelight. Poirot picked it up, his fingers tracing the engraved defies. "This locket," he murmured, "it is a key, to what, I wonder?" Hastings stood, grabbing his revolver. "What's the plan, Poirot? We can't just sit here with that noise out there." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "We hunt, Hastings. The piano calls us. Let us answer." They stepped into the corridor, the candle casting long shadows on the cracked walls. The castle was silent now, the hum gone, but the air felt alive, as if it held its breath. Poirot led the way, his steps careful, his ears straining for any sound. The portraits on the walls seemed to watch, their painted eyes following the flickering light. The corridor led to the grand staircase, its steps creaking underfoot. Hastings gripped his revolver, whispering, "Where's the piano?" "I didn't see one in the dining hall." Poirot paused, his head tilted. In a castle like this, mon ami, a piano would be in a music room or a parlour. "We shall find it." They descended, the air growing colder, the storm's howl muffled by the thick walls. At the bottom, Poirot turned toward a hallway they hadn't explored, its entrance half hidden by a tattered curtain. He pushed it aside, revealing a door, its wood carved with roses and vines, now chipped and faded. "This feels like the right place," Hastings said, his voice low. "But it's creepy, Poirot. Be careful." Poirot smiled faintly. "Always, Hastings. But caution does not mean fear." He tried the door, finding it unlocked. It opened with a groan, revealing a large room, its windows boarded up, its air thick with dust. In the center stood an old, grand piano, its black surface dull but intact. Cobwebs draped its legs, and a single candle holder sat on top. Its wax melted into a frozen puddle. Hastings stepped forward, his candle shaking. There it is, but who played it? There's no one here. Poirot approached the piano, his fingers brushing the keys. He pressed one, and a low, mournful note filled the room, echoing off the walls. "The same note we heard," he said. "But look, Hastings, no dust on the keys. Someone has touched this recently." Hastings peered closer, his face pale. "You're right, but who? And why play a single note in the middle of the night?" Poirot's eyes scanned the room. The walls were lined with faded wallpaper, peeling in strips. A cracked mirror hung above a fireplace, its glass cloudy. Shelves held mouldy books and broken ornaments, but something caught Poirot's eye, small, leather-bound book on the floor, half hidden under the piano. He knelt, picking it up. The cover was worn, its pages yellowed. "A journal," he said, opening it. The handwriting was neat but faint, dated 20 years ago. "Property of Lord Alistair Dunmore," Poirot read aloud. "Most curious." Hastings leaned over his shoulder. "Lord Dunmore, the one who vanished." "What's it say?" Poirot flipped through, his eyes moving quickly. "It speaks of debts, of fear, of a plan. Listen, the jewels must be hidden. They will come for them. Margaret knows, but she cannot." "No, all jewels again," Hastings said. "That's what Clara was after, and maybe why she was attacked." Poirot nodded, slipping the journal into his coat. "This journal is a clue, Hastings, but we must be careful. Someone played this piano to draw us here or to warn us." A sudden crash came from above, sharp and heavy, like glass shattering. Hastings spun, his revolver out. What now? Poirot's face was grim. "The castle does not sleep. Come." They hurried back to the staircase, the candle flickering wildly. The crash had come from the upper floors, near the guest rooms. As they climbed, voices echoed angry, frightened. The other guests were awake. In the corridor, they found Dr. Alistair Cobb, his glasses askew, clutching a broken vase. Lady Evelyn Harrow stood nearby, her fur coat wrapped tight, her face pale. Colonel Blake was shouting, his fists clenched. Lucien Moreau, the artist, leaned against a wall, silent but watching. Clara Vance, her head still bandaged, sat on the floor, looking dazed. "What happened?" Poirot demanded, his voice cutting through the noise. Cobb stammered, I heard a crash. Came out and found this vase smashed." Then Clara screamed again. Clara rubbed her head. "I woke up to that noise. Thought someone was in my room. I shouted, and everyone came running." Lady Evelyn snapped, "This place is a nightmare. First, an attack, now this. We're all going to die." "Calm yourself," Madame Poirot said. "No one has died, but someone wishes us to fear. Tell me, who was in the hall before the crash?" Blake growled, "I was in my room, heard the noise, and came out. Found Cobb standing over the vase." Cobb shook his head. "I didn't break it. It was already smashed when I got here." Moreau spoke softly. "I saw a shadow, moving down the hall toward the stairs. Too dark to see who." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "A shadow, Monsieur Moreau, or a person?" Moreau shrugged, his hands trembling, couldn't tell. It was quick. Grimshaw appeared, his lantern casting harsh light. What's all this racket? You lot should be sleeping. Poirot turned to him. Monsieur Grimshaw, a vase is broken. A scream is heard, and a piano plays in the night. Have you no answers? Grimshaw's face was blank. Old castles make noises. Vases fall. Nothing new. Nothing new, Poirot repeated, his tone sharp. Yet a piano plays without hands, and a woman is struck. You know this castle, monsieur. Where is the music room? Grimshaw hesitated, then pointed. Down the east hall, but no one's used it in years. We found it, Poirot said, and someone played it tonight. Who? Grimshaw shrugged again, but his eyes flickered. Not me. I was in my quarters. Poirot studied him, then turned to the group. Return to your rooms. Lock your doors. Tomorrow we search every corner of this castle. The truth hides, but not for long. The guests muttered, dispersing. Clara limped to her room, helped by Hastings. Blake stomped off, grumbling. Cobb clutched his glasses, nervous. Lady Evelyn swept away, her pearls clicking. Moreau lingered. His eyes on Poirot, then followed. In their room, Hastings locked the door, his face tense. This is getting worse. Poirot, first Clara's attack, now pianos and broken vases. What's next? Poirot sat, opening the journal. Next, we read. We think, we watch. This journal speaks of jewels and fear. It is a window to the past, and the past is why we are here. He read aloud. His voice. Lo October 12, 1905. They know about the jewels. I must hide them where no one looks. The passage is safe, but Margaret suspects. If she finds it, all is lost. Hastings frowned. That's 20 years ago, right before Lord Dunmore vanished. Exactly, Poirot said. The jewels, the passage, the locket, they are linked, and someone here knows how. He set the journal down, his mind racing. The piano note, the broken vase, the shadow in the hall. They were not random. Someone was playing a game, leaving clues or warnings. But who? Grimshaw, with his silent steps. Clara, with her torn notebook. Or one of the others, hiding behind fear or anger. The storm quieted, leaving only the drip of rain. Poirot stood, pacing. Tomorrow, Hastings, we go to the passage in the tower. Clara was attacked there for a reason, and we take this journal to Cobb. He knows the Dunmores. He may know more. Hastings yawned, pulling up his blanket. Hope you're right. Poirot, this place is giving me nightmares. Poirot smiled faintly. Sleep, mon ami. The nightmares are but shadows. The truth is our light. He blew out the candle, but his eyes stayed open, fixed on the locket. The castle was alive, its echoes calling. He would answer, and the secrets would fall. Morning came, grey and damp, the storm reduced to a drizzle. The guests gathered in the dining hall, their faces tired. Grimshaw served porridge and tea, his movements slow, his eyes avoiding Poirot's. Clara's bandage was fresh, but she sat straight, her notebook clutched tight. Blake ate quickly, his moustache twitching. Cobb scribbled in a small book, his glasses fogged. Lady Evelyn sipped tea, her pearls gleaming. Moreau sketched on a scrap of paper, his hands steady now. Poirot stood, holding the journal. Mies Amos last night was eventful. A piano played, a vase broke, a shadow moved, and this, he held up the journal, was found in the music room. It belongs to Lord Alistair Dunmore. Cobb's head snapped up. Lord Dunmore's journal. Let me see it. Poirot handed it over, watching Cobb's face. The historian's hands shook as he read, his eyes wide. This is incredible. It mentions the jewels. And a passage. Do you think it's the one in the tower, perhaps? Poirot said. You know the Dunmores, Monsieur Cobb. What can you tell us? Cobb hesitated, then spoke. Lord Alistair was desperate in his last years. Debts piled up. The Jules family heirlooms, worth a fortune, were his only hope. Rumours said he hid them before he vanished. Some thought he was killed for them. Lady Evelyn sniffed. A thief and a coward. My father said the Dunmores were rotten. Blake slammed his fist on the table. Lies. Alistair was my friend. He'd never steal. Clara leaned forward, her eyes sharp. Jewels sound like a motive. Someone here might know where they are. Moreau looked up from his sketch. Or someone's after them. That's why we're here, isn't it? Poirot nodded. A fine question, Monsieur Moreau. Why are we here? The letters brought us, but who sent them? And why now? Grimshaw, clearing plates, spoke gruffly. You're poking into things best. Left alone, the castle's got its secrets. Let them be. Poirot's smile was cold. Secrets, Monsieur Grimshaw, are my business. We shall go to the tower now. All of us. The passage waits. The group rose, uneasy. Clara clutched her notebook. Blake adjusted his coat. Cobb carried the journal. Lady Evelyn muttered complaints. And Moreau tucked his sketch away. Grimshaw led the way, his lantern bright in the dim halls. The tower stairs were as they'd left them, the air cold and heavy. The secret passage stood open, its darkness beckoning. Poirot held up his candle. Peering inside, the passage was narrow, its walls damp, its floor uneven. A faint smell lingered oil like in the cellar. We go together, Poirot said. Stay close. They entered, single file, Poirot in the lead. The passage twisted, sloping downward. The air grew stale, the walls tighter. Hastings whispered, feels like a tomb, Poirot. Not a tomb, Poirot said. A hiding place. The passage ended at a small chamber, its walls carved with strange symbols, circles, lines, crosses. In the center was a stone table, and on it a single object. A blood-stained scarf, its red stark against the grey stone. Clara gasped, That's mine. I lost it yesterday, before the attack. Poirot picked it up, his fingers careful. Yours. Mademoiselle, yet it is here, in a hidden chamber. Someone placed it. Why, Blake growled, this is a setup. Someone's playing games. Lady Evelyn backed away. I'm leaving. This is too much. No one leaves, Poirot said sharply. We are close to something. Look at the symbols. Monsieur Cobb, do they mean anything? Cobb studied the walls, his face pale. They're old, maybe Celtic. Could be a code or directions. The Dunmores were known for secrets. Moreau traced a symbol, his voice soft. They feel sad. Like a warning, Grimshaw snorted. Just old marks. Nothing special. Poirot's eyes locked on Grimshaw. You know this castle, yet you dismiss its secrets. Why? Grimshaw looked away, silent. Poirot tucked the scarf into his pocket, beside the locket and the feather. We return now. But this chamber, this scarf they speak, and Poirot listens. Back. In the dining hall, the group sat, shaken. Poirot stood, his voice calm but firm. Someone among us knows more than they say. The scarf, the piano, the journal, they are not accidents. Tonight, we stay vigilant. Tomorrow, we dig deeper. The day passed, the castle quiet but tense. Poirot and Hastings searched the music room again, finding nothing new. The guests kept to themselves, their trust fraying. At dinner, the air was thick with suspicion, every glance a question. As night fell, Poirot sat by the fire, the locket scarf and journal before him. Hastings watched, yawning. "What's the plan, Poirot? This place is a maze of clues." "The plan," Poirot said, "is to think. The little grey cells, they work. The piano note was a signal. The scarf, a warning. The locket, a memory. Someone weaves a web, and we are in it." A new sound broke the night knot. A piano, but a low, mournful wail, like a woman crying. Hastings froze. "That's it. I'm done. This place is haunted." Poirot stood, his face set. "No ghosts, Hastings. Only truth, and we shall find it." The wail faded, but the castle felt alive, its secrets closing in. Poirot's mind burned, ready to unravel the mystery, one echo at a time. Chapter 4. The secret passage. The mournful wail that pierced the night lingered in Hercule's Poirot's ears as he stood in his room, the candlelight flickering across his sharp features. Castle Dunmore seemed to breathe with secrets, its walls, whispering tales of fear and betrayal. Captain Hastings, still shaken, sat on his bed, his revolver clutched tightly. "That sound, Poirot," he whispered. "It wasn't human. I'm telling you, this place is haunted." Poirot's mustache twitched, a sign his mind was at work. "Mon ami, the human heart makes sounds far stranger than any ghost. That wail, like the piano note, is a message. Someone wishes us to fear awe, to look where they do not want us to look." He set the locket, the blood-stained scarf, and Lord Dunmore's journal on the table, their presence heavy with unanswered questions. Hastings rubbed his eyes, tired but alert. "What's the plan, then? We can't just wait for another scream. Or shadow." Poirot's eyes gleamed in the dim light. "We return to the secret passage in the tower. Clara was attacked there, the scarf was found there, and the journal speaks of a hiding place. It is the heart of this mystery, Hastings. We go at dawn with the others. Secrets hide in darkness, but Poirot brings light." He sat, opening the journal again. The faint handwriting of Lord Alistair Dunmore told a story of desperation. October 15th, 1905. "The jewels are safe, but the danger grows. The passage behind the fire holds the key. If they find it, all is lost." Poirot's finger paused on the word fire. "The passage behind the fire," he murmured. "Not the tower, perhaps, but another." Hastings frowned. "Another passage. This castle's a maze. And that wail, could it be Lady Margaret's ghost, like the villagers say?" Poirot shook his head. "No ghosts, Hastings. Only people, playing tricks or hiding truths. Sleep now. We need clear heads for the morning." But sleep eluded Poirot. He lay awake, his little grey cells turning over the clues, the anonymous letters, Clara's attack, the piano note, the broken vase, the shadow in the hall, the locket, the scarf, and now the wail. Each was a thread in a tangled web, and someone. In Castle Dunmore was the spider. He would find them. Dawn broke, grey and damp, the storm reduced to a steady drizzle. The guests gathered in the dining hall, their faces pale and tense. Grimshaw, the caretaker, served watery porridge and weak tea, his eyes avoiding Poirot's. Clara Vance, her head still bandaged, clutched her notebook, her jaw set. Colonel Blake ate quickly, his grey moustache bristling with impatience. Dr. Alistair Cobb adjusted his glasses, his fingers twitching over Lord Dunmore's journal. Lady Evelyn Harrow sipped her tea, her pearls clicking softly. Lucien Moreau, the artist, sketched quietly, his eyes darting to the others. Poirot stood, his voice calm but commanding. Mies, Amos, last night we heard a wail, a sound meant to frighten, but fear will not stop us. The secret passage in the tower holds answers. Clara's scarf was found there, and the journal speaks of hidden jewels. Today we explore it together. No one stays behind. Lady Evelyn sniffed, her voice sharp. I'm not traipsing through dusty tunnels. This castle is bad enough without crawling into its bowels. Blake growled, Nonsense, woman. If there's answers, I'm for finding them. Alistair Dunmore was my friend. I owe him that. Clara's eyes flashed. I'm going. Whoever hit me was after something in that passage. I want to know what. Cobb nodded, clutching the journal. The passage might hold historical clues. I'm in. Moreau looked up from his sketch, his voice soft. I'll go. The castle. It speaks to me. I want to see its secrets. Grimshaw set down a tray, his face blank. You're fools. That passage is old, unstable. Stay out. Poirot's smile was cold. Monsieur Grimshaw, your warnings are noted, but Poirot does not shy from danger. Lead us to the tower. Grimshaw shrugged, grabbing a lantern. Your funeral, he muttered, heading for the stairs. The group followed, their footsteps echoing. In the cold halls, the tower staircase was as they'd left it, its iron steps rusted, the air heavy with damp. The secret passage stood open, its dark mouth waiting. Poirot held up his lantern, its light cutting through the gloom. Stay close, he said, and touch nothing without my say. They entered single file, Poirot in the lead, Hastings behind. Him, then Clara, Blake, Cobb, Moreau, and Lady Evelyn, who muttered complaints, but followed. Grimshaw brought up the rear, his lantern casting harsh shadows. The passage was narrow, its walls slimy with moss, its floor uneven. The smell of oil and earth grew stronger, and the air felt thick. Pressing against their chests, Hastings whispered, This place is worse than yesterday. Feels like it's closing in. Poirot nodded, his eyes scanning the walls. The symbols. They'd seen circles, lines, crosses continued here, carved deeper, older. These marks, he said, they guide us, or warn us. Cobb, clutching the journal, spoke up. They're Celtic, I think. Maybe directions to the jewels. The Dunmores were secretive, used codes to protect their wealth. Clara snorted. Codes or not, someone knows what's down here. That's why I got hit. The passage sloped downward, twisting left, then right. The lanterns flickered, shadows dancing like spectres. A faint drip echoed, water seeping through. The stones. Poirot's steps were steady, his mind cataloguing every detail, the symbols, the smell, the tension in the group. The passage opened into a larger chamber, its ceiling low, its walls rough. The stone table from yesterday stood in the center, empty now, the blood-stained scarf in Poirot's pocket. But something new caught his ajar-rusted iron door in the far wall. Its lock heavy and old, but scratched, as if recently tampered with. Look at that, Hastings said, pointing. Someone's been trying to open it. Poirot knelt, examining the lock. Fresh marks, yes. A tool, perhaps a crowbar, but the door holds. He turned to Grimshaw. You know this door. Monsieur Grimshaw's face was blank. Never seen it open. Been here years, and it's always locked. Clara stepped forward, her notebook open. My notes mention a vault. The villagers said the Dunmores hid their treasures below the castle. This could be it. Blake's eyes narrowed. A vault, with the jewels. Then why attack you, girl? Clara glared. Because I was close. Someone doesn't want us finding it. Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls. This is madness. Jewels or not, I'm not staying in this tomb. Moreau, silent until now, traced a symbol on the wall. These marks, they're not just codes. They feel like a story. Pain, loss, betrayal. Poirot's eyebrow rose. A story, Monsieur Moreau. Tell us. Moreau hesitated, his paint-stained hands trembling. I don't know, just a feeling. This place, it's heavy with sadness. Poirot nodded, filing the comment away. He turned to the door, testing the lock. It didn't budge. We need a key, he said, or a tool. Monsieur Grimshaw, you have tools, yes? Grimshaw shrugged. In the cellar, but that lock's old. Might not open. We shall try, Poirot said. Hastings, stay here with the others. I go with Grimshaw. Hastings frowned. Alone, not a chance, Poirot. Poirot's smile was firm. Trust me, mon ami. I am never alone with my little grey cells. Grimshaw led Poirot back through the passage, the others staying behind. The cellar was as cold and damp as before, its barrels and crates looming in the lantern's light. Grimshaw pointed to a toolbox in a corner, rusted but full. Poirot selected a crowbar, its edges worn but sharp. You're stubborn, Grimshaw said, his voice low, digging into things that don't concern you. Poirot's eyes locked on him. Everything concerns Poirot when lives are at stake. Tell me, monsieur, what do you fear in this castle? Grimshaw looked away. Nothing, just want you lot gone. Poirot smiled faintly. We shall see. They returned to the chamber, the crowbar heavy in Poirot's hand. The group was tense, Clara scribbling in her notebook, Blake pacing, Cobb studying the symbols, Lady Evelyn muttering, Moreau sketching the door. Poirot handed the crowbar to Blake. Colonel, your strength, if you please. Blake grunted, taking the tool. He wedged it into the lock, heaving with effort. The metal groaned, then snapped, the door swinging open with a screech. Dust billowed, and a cold draught swept through, carrying a faint, metallic smell. Poirot raised his lantern, stepping inside. The room was small, its walls bare except for a single shelf. On it sat a wooden box, its lid carved with the same D. As the locket, Poirot opened it, revealing a bundle of yellowed letters tied with a ribbon. Beneath them was a single sheet, torn from a journal, its writing frantic. The fire hides the truth. Trust no one. Hastings peered over his shoulder. Another journal page, and more letters. This is getting complicated, Poirot. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Complicated, yes, but clear. These letters, this page, they are steps to the truth. Let us read. He untied the ribbon, scanning the letters. They were from Lady Margaret to Lord Dunmore, dated before his disappearance. One caught his eye, Alistair. You must stop. They know about the jewels. The fire is not safe. Leave before it's too late. Clara leaned in. The fire again. The journal mentioned a passage behind the fire. Where's that? Cobb adjusted his glasses. The castle has many fireplaces. The main one, in the dining hall, is the oldest. Could be there, Blake snorted. More secrets. This place is a rabbit warren. Lady Evelyn's voice was sharp. Enough. I'm not chasing ghosts and jewels. I'm leaving tomorrow. Poirot's smile was polite, but firm. Madame, no. One leaves until the truth is found. Someone attacked Mademoiselle Vance. Someone played the piano. Someone wails in the night. We stay until we know who. The group fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Grimshaw shifted, his lantern flickering. You've got your box. Now what? Now, Poirot said, we return to the dining hall. We read these letters. We find the fire. And we watch each other. They retraced their steps, the passage seeming longer, the air heavier. In the dining hall, Poirot spread the letters on the table, the journal page beside them. The guests gathered, their faces a mix of curiosity and fear. Clara read aloud, her voice steady despite her bandage. Alistair, they're watching. The jewels are cursed. Hide them where the fire burns coldest. Cobb frowned. Coldest fire. That's a riddle. Maybe a fireplace that's never used. Moreau looked up from his sketch, his eyes distant. The music room, its fireplace, is small. Always cold. I noticed it last night. Poirot nodded. Well observed, Monsieur Moreau. We shall check it. But first, these letters. They speak of danger, of watchers. Who were they 20 years ago? Blake cleared his throat. Alistair had enemies. Debts, rivals. He told me once someone threatened his life. Never said who. Lady Evelyn sniffed. My father said the Dunmores crossed too many people. Thieves, all of them. Clara glared. You keep saying that, but you're here. Why? Got a stake in those jewels. Lady Evelyn's face flushed. How dare you? I came to settle old debts, not chase treasure. Poirot raised a hand. Enough. Accusations do not help. We go to the music room now. The group moved, Grimshaw leading with his lantern. The music room was as they'd left it, the piano silent, its keys still free of dust. The fireplace was small, its hearth black with old ash. Poirot knelt, running his fingers along the stones. Here, he said, pressing a loose brick. A click sounded, and a panel slid open, revealing another passage, narrower than the last dot. Hastings gasped. Another one. This castle's full of holes. Poirot peered inside, the air cold and sharp. This is the passage behind the fire. Lord Dunmore's hiding place. We enter. They squeezed through, the passage tight and steep, descending into darkness. The walls were smooth, as if carved with care, and the smell of oil was strong. At the end was a small chamber, empty except for a single object, a rusted metal box, its lock broken, its lid slightly open. Poirot opened it, revealing a velvet pouch. Inside was a single ruby, its red glow catching the lantern's light. The group gasped, their eyes wide. The jewels, Clara whispered. We found one. Poirot's face was grim. One, yes, but where are the rest? And why leave this here? Blake's voice was rough. Someone's been here. The lock's broken, like the door. Cobb adjusted his glasses. This could be a decoy. The real jewels might be elsewhere. Moreau's voice was soft. Or someone took them. Long ago, Grimshaw snorted. You're chasing shadows. That ruby's all you'll find. Poirot pocketed the ruby, his mind racing. This ruby is a clue, not the prize. Someone wanted us to find it or to stop us. We return now. The castle grows restless. Back in the dining hall, the group sat, the ruby on the table, its glow eerie in the dim light. Poirot spread the letters, reading more. Alistair, the fire hides the truth, but the truth burns. Trust no one, not even me. Hastings frowned. Not even Lady Margaret. What's that mean? Poirot's eyes narrowed. It means betrayal, Hastings. The Dunmores were surrounded by it. And perhaps so are we. The day dragged on, the castle quiet but tense. Poirot kept the ruby, scarf, locket, and journal close, their weight a reminder of the growing mystery. The guests ate dinner in silence, their trust fraying. Clara scribbled notes, Blake glared at everyone, Cobb studied the journal, Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls, and Moreau sketched, his eyes distant. As night fell, Poirot sat by the fire, his mind turning. The ruby was a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole. The passages, the letters, the wail, they pointed to a truth buried deep in Castle Dunmore. Someone knew it, and they were watching. A new sound broke the silencer, low rhythmic tapping, like fingers on wood. Hastings jumped. What now, Poirot? Poirot stood, his face set. The castle speaks again. We listen, and we find. The tapping grew louder, coming from the hall. Poirot grabbed his lantern, Hastings at his side. The others followed, there, faces pale. The mystery was tightening, and Poirot's little grey cells were ready to unravel it, one secret at a time. Chapter 5. The first victim. The rhythmic tapping echoed through Castle Dunmore's dark halls, pulling Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings from their seats. The sound was sharp, like fingers drumming on wood, coming from somewhere deep in the castle. The other guests, Clara Vance, Colonel Blake, Dr. Alistair Cobb, Lady Evelyn Harrow, and Lucien Morris stood, frozen in the dining hall, their faces pale in the lantern's flickering light. The air was thick with damp and fear, the storm outside a low growl. Poirot's dark eyes narrowed, his moustache twitching. The castle speaks again, Mies Amos, he said, his voice calm but firm. This tapping is no accident. Someone calls. USO warns us. We shall see who. Hastings gripped his revolver, his knuckles white. It's coming from downstairs, Poirot. Maybe the library. That's where Cobb heard rustling last night. Poirot nodded, grabbing his lantern. To the library then. Stay together. No one wanders alone. Clara, her head still bandaged from the tower attack, clutched her notebook, her eyes sharp. I'm coming. Whoever's doing this, I want answers. Blake snorted, his grey moustache bristling. Answers. Someone's playing tricks, and I'll sort them out. He patted his coat, where a bulge hinted at a weapon. Cobb adjusted his glasses, nervous. The library's full of old papers. Maybe there's something there about the jewels or Lord Dunmore. Lady Evelyn sniffed, clutching her pearls. This is madness. I'm staying here. No, Madame, Poirot said sharply. We all go. Danger hides in solitude. Moreau, the artist, said nothing, his paint-stained hands tucked into his pockets, his eyes darting. Grimshaw, the caretaker, grabbed a lantern, his face blank. Libraries this way, he muttered, leading them. The group moved through the cold corridors, their footsteps echoing on the stone floor. The tapping grew louder, faster, then stopped abruptly, leaving a heavy silence. Hastings shivered. That's not a good sign, Poirot. Poirot's expression was grim. Silence is often louder than sound, mon ami. Be ready. The library was a vast room, its walls lined with sagging shelves, books mouldy and scattered. A large oak table stood in the center, surrounded by dusty chairs. A single window, boarded up, let in slivers of grey light. The air smelled of old paper and something sharp metallic, like blood. Colonel Blake lay slumped over the table, his face grey, his eyes wide and lifeless. A glass of whiskey sat beside him, its amber liquid untouched. A faint burn mark scarred his hand, red and raw like a brand. Clara gasped, dropping her notebook. "He's dead." Lady Evelyn screamed, backing away, her pearls clicking. Cobb froze, his glasses slipping. Moreau stared, his face pale but unreadable. Grimshaw cursed under his breath, setting his lantern down. Poirot knelt beside Blake, his fingers checking for a pulse. "Dead, yes," he said, his voice steady. "Not long. The body is still warm." He sniffed the whiskey glass, his nose wrinkling. A bitter scent. "Poison, I think." Hastings' eyes widened. "Poison? Who did this?" "We were all together." Poirot's gaze swept the room. "Not all, mon ami. The tapping drew us here. Someone planned this." He examined Blake's hand, the burn mark stark against his skin. "This mark, it is strange. Like a chemical burn, perhaps." Clara, recovering, picked up her notebook. "He was fine at dinner. Who had time to poison him?" Cobb stammered. I was in my room after dinner. Didn't see him." Lady Evelyn snapped. "None of us did. This castle is cursed. First an attack, now a murder." Moreau's voice was soft. He said he'd check the library. Maybe he found something. Poirot stood, his eyes sharp. "Found something, or was lured here?" "Monsieur Grimshaw, you know. This castle. Is there another way into this room?" Grimshaw shrugged, his face blank. "Just the door. Windows are boarded." Poirot moved to the shelves, running his fingers along the books. One shelf wobbled, and he pushed it, revealing a narrow gap in the wall, a hidden panel, slightly ajar. "Another passage," he said. "This castle is full of secrets." Hastings peered into the gap, the air cold and stale. "Someone could have come through here, poisoned Blake, and left." Poirot nodded, pulling the ruby, locket, scarf, and journal from his pocket. He added a new clue. A small vial, empty but smelling of the same bitter scent as the whiskey. He'd found it under the table, half hidden by a book. "This held the poison," he said. "Someone was careless." Clara's eyes narrowed. "Or wanted us to find it. A setup, maybe." Lady Evelyn's voice rose. "A setup. You're saying one of us did this?" Poirot raised a hand. "Calm, madame. Accusations without proof are noise, not truth. We search the library now, every book, every corner. The group spread out, their lanterns casting eerie shadows." Clara flipped through papers on the table, finding old letters, but nothing new. Cobb scanned the shelves, muttering about historical records. Moreau examined the fireplace, its hearth cold and empty. Lady Evelyn stood by the door, refusing to touch anything. Grimshaw watched, his eyes flicking to Poirot. Hastings called out, "Poirot, look here." He held up a torn page, stuffed behind a book. It was from Lord Dunmore's journal, its handwriting frantic. October 16th, 1905. "They're closer. The poison is ready. If I must, I'll use it. The jewels are safe behind the fire." Poirot's eyes gleamed. Poison 20 years ago, and now poison again. The past echoes. Hastings. Cobb adjusted his glasses, reading over Poirot's shoulder. Lord Dunmore planned to poison someone. His enemies. Clara frowned. Or himself. If he was desperate, maybe he took his own life. Lady Evelyn scoffed. A coward's way out. Typical Dunmore. Moreau's voice was quiet. Or he was betrayed. The journal said, "Trust no one." Poirot tucked the page into his coat. Betrayal, yes, and it lives in this castle still. We must find the poisoned source, and this passage behind the shelf it must be explored. Grimshaw's face tightened. That passage is old, dangerous. You won't find anything. Poirot's smile was cold. We shall see, monsieur. Lead us. Grimshaw hesitated, then grabbed his lantern, pushing the shelf aside. The passage was narrow, its walls rough, its air heavy with the smell of earth and metal. The group followed, their steps cautious. The passage sloped down, twisting into the castle's depths. A faint drip echoed, water seeping through cracks. The passage ended at a small chamber, its walls bare except for a rusted metal cabinet. Poirot opened it, revealing glass bottles, some broken, some intact. One bottle, small and clear, held a few drops of liquid, its label faded but readable. Arsenic. Hastings gasped. Poison, that's what killed Blake. Poirot sniffed the bottle, his nose wrinkling. The same bitter scent as the whiskey. This is our weapon, but who wielded it? Clara's eyes flashed. Someone who knew this passage. Someone who's been here before. Lady Evelyn backed away. This is too much. I'm leaving, jewels or no jewels. Poirot's voice was sharp. No one leaves, madame. A man is dead. We stay until the killer is found. Cobb stammered, but we're all suspects now. Even you, Poirot. Poirot's smile was faint. Even me, Monsieur Cobb. But Poirot's little grey cells do not poison. They uncover, Grimshaw snorted. You're chasing ghosts. That arsenic's been here for years. Poirot's eyes locked on him, yet it found its way to Colonel Blake's glass. How, monsieur? Grimshaw looked away, silent. The group returned to the library, the arsenic bottle in Poirot's pocket. Blake's body still lay on the table, a grim reminder. Poirot covered it with a cloth, his face solemn. We must inform the village. A doctor, a constable. But the storm traps us for now. Clara's voice was steady. So we're stuck with a killer. Great. Moreau's hands trembled. The castle, it's angry. It wants us gone. Lady Evelyn snapped. Stop with the nonsense. It's not. The castle, it's one of us. Poirot raised a hand. Enough. We return to the dining hall. We eat, we think, we watch. The killer is among us, but they cannot hide forever. The group moved, their steps heavy. In the dining hall, Grimshaw served bread and soup, his hands steady but his eyes wary. The guests ate in silence, their glances sharp with suspicion. Poirot spread the clues on the table. The locket, the scarf, the ruby, the journal pages, the arsenic bottle. Each was a piece of the puzzle, but the picture was still unclear. Hastings leaned close. What's next, Poirot? We've got a body, a poison, and a castle full of secrets. Poirot's eyes were bright. Next, we question each guest, each story. The killer made a mistake. The vial, the burn mark. We find it. He stood, addressing the group. Mies Amos, Colonel Blake, was murdered. Someone here knows why. Speak now, or Poirot will find you out. Clara glared at Grimshaw. You knew about that passage. You've been here forever. What's your game? Grimshaw's face was blank. I keep this place standing. I don't kill. Cobb adjusted his glasses. I was researching the Dunmores. Blake Mittarv found something in the library, something someone didn't want known. Lady Evelyn's voice was shrill. You're all pointing fingers, but I had no reason to hurt him. Moreau's voice was soft. He was asking questions about the jewels, the past. Maybe he got too close. Poirot watched them, his mind cataloguing their words, their looks. Clara's anger, Grimshaw's silence, Cobb's nerves, Lady Evelyn's fear, Moreau's quiet observation. They all hid something. But what? The day dragged on, the castle heavy with grief and suspicion. Poirot and Hastings searched Blake's room, finding a folded letter in his coat. Meet me in the library at midnight. The truth awaits. It was unsigned, the handwriting sharp, like the anonymous letters that brought them here. Hastings frowned. He was lured, Poirot. Someone set him up. Poirot nodded, and the poison was ready. The burn mark, the arsenic. They tell a story. We must read it. As night fell, the castle grew colder, the storm a distant rumble. The guests locked their doors, but sleep was scarce. Poirot sat by the fire, the clues before him. The locket's photograph of Lady Margaret stared back, her eyes full of secrets. The journal spoke of poison and betrayal. The ruby gleamed, a drop of blood in the firelight. A new sound broke the silence, a low, scraping noise, like stone on stone. Hastings sat up, his revolver ready. Not again, Poirot. What's that? Poirot stood, his lantern raised. The castle does not rest, Hastings, nor do we. Come. The scraping came from the corridor near the staircase. Poirot led the way, his steps silent, his mind burning. The killer was moving, and Poirot was close. Castle Dunmore's secrets were unraveling, and the truth was near. Chapter 6. The heiress's secret. The scraping sound, like stone grinding against stone, echoed through Castle Dunmore's dark corridors, pulling Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings from their room. The air was cold, heavy with the scent of damp and decay, and the lantern's light cast eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The storm outside had faded to a soft drizzle, but the castle felt alive, its secrets stirring in the night. Poirot's small frame moved with purpose, his polished shoes silent on the stone floor, while Hastings, clutching his revolver, followed close, his face tense. Poirot, that noise, Hastings whispered. It's coming from downstairs, near the dining hall. What's going on? Poirot's dark eyes gleamed in the lantern's glow. The castle speaks, mon ami. The scraping is no accident. Someone moves in the shadows, and Poirot will find them. His voice was calm but sharp, his mind racing over the clues. The anonymous letters, Clara's attack, the piano note, the broken vase, Colonel Blake's poisoned body, the locket, the ruby, the journal pages, the arsenic vial, and now this new sound. Each was a thread in a tangled web, and the spider was close. They crept down the grand staircase, its steps creaking softly. The other guests, Clara Vance, Dr. Alistair Cobb, Lady Evelyn Harrow, Lucien Moreau and Grimshaw, the caretaker, were in their rooms, or so they thought. The death of Colonel Blake had left the group shaken, their trust frayed, and Poirot knew one among them held the key to the murder. The scraping stopped as they reached the dining hall, replaced by a faint rustle, like fabric brushing stone. Poirot raised his lantern, scanning the room. The long table was empty, the fire low, its embers glowing red. The clues locket, scarf, ruby, journal pages, and vial were safe in Poirot's locked bag upstairs, but their weight pressed on his mind. Hastings pointed to the fireplace, its stones blackened. The noise came from there, I'm sure. Remember. The journal. The passage behind the fire. Poirot nodded, his mustache twitching. Well observed, Hastings. The journal speaks of a fire that hides the truth. Let us see what this one hides. He knelt by the fireplace, his fingers tracing the stones. One was loose, its edges worn but marked with fresh scratches, like the lock in the tower passage. He pressed it, and a low groan sounded as a panel slid open, revealing a narrow passage, its air cold and sharp with the smell of oil and earth. Good heavens, Hastings whispered, another secret passage. This. Castles, a labyrinth. Poirot's eyes were bright. A labyrinth, yes, but every maze has a center. We go in, but quietly. The spider may be near. They stepped inside, the passage tight and sloping downward. The walls were smooth, carved with the same Celtic symbols, circles, lines, crosses seen in the tower. The lantern's light flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. Hastings gripped his revolver, his breath short. This feels worse than the tower, Poirot, like we're being watched. Poirot's voice was steady. We are always watched, mon ami, but by whom? That is the question. The passage twisted, ending at a small chamber, its walls bare except for a single shelf. On it lay a torn photograph, its edges charred, showing a young Lord Dunmore with a woman, her face half burned away. Poirot picked it up, his fingers careful. This is no accident, he said. Someone tried to destroy it, but failed. Hastings peered at it. Is that Lady Margaret? The locket had her picture. Poirot shook his head. Perhaps, but the face is too damaged. We must know who she is. He tucked the photograph into his coat, beside the locket, scarf, ruby, and vial. A faint shuffle came from behind, and Poirot spun, raising the lantern. Lady Evelyn Harrow stood at the passage's entrance, her fur coat askew, her pearls gleaming, her face pale but her eyes sharp. Monsieur Poirot, she gasped. I followed you. I couldn't sleep after Blake's death. Eyebrow rose. Followed us, madame, in the dead of night, into a secret passage. Most curious. Why? Lady Evelyn's hands trembled, but her voice was firm. I heard the scraping, like you. I thought it might be about the Dunmores. My family knew them, you see. There's history, bad history. Poirot's gaze was piercing. History, madame. Speak plainly. What do you know? She hesitated, clutching her pearls. My father. He owned an estate near here, years ago. The Dunmores were rivals. They fought over land, money, and those jewels. Father said Lord Dunmore cheated him, stole a share of the gems. I came because the letter promised answers, maybe a chance to reclaim what's ours. Hastings frowned. You're after the jewels too, like Clara. Lady Evelyn glared. Not like her. My family's claim is real. The Dunmores ruined us. I want justice. Poirot's smile was faint. Justice, madame, or revenge? And why follow us now, alone? Her eyes flickered. I saw someone moving in the hall. I thought they came this way. Someone. Poirot's voice was sharp. Who? I couldn't see. She said quickly. It was dark. A shadow. Maybe Grimshaw. Poirot studied her, noting the sweat on her brow, the tightness of her grip. Very well, madame. Stay with us. We return now, but your story will be tested. They retraced their steps, the passage seeming longer, the air heavier. In the dining hall, the fire was nearly out, the room cold. Poirot set the photograph on the table, its charred edges stark. "This woman," he said, "is a clue. We must find her name." Hastings yawned, rubbing his eyes. "It's late, Poirot. Can't this wait till morning?" "No," Poirot said. "A man is dead, and the killer moves. We questioned the others. Now, they knocked on the guests' doors, waking them." Clara, her bandage fresh, was annoyed but alert, her notebook in hand. Cobb, glasses fogged, clutched Lord Dunmore's journal, mumbling about history. Moreau, paint-stained hands, trembling, looked half asleep but wary. Grimshaw, summoned from his quarters, scowled, his lantern dim. Poirot held up the photograph. "Mies Amos. This was found in a secret passage. Lord Dunmore and a woman, her face burned." "Who is she?" Clara squinted, her voice sharp. "Looks like the Locket's picture, but it's hard to tell. Maybe Lady Margaret." Cobb adjusted his glasses. "Could be. Lady Margaret was beautiful," they said, "but why burn the photo?" Eyes lingered on it. "It's sad, like someone wanted her gone." Grimshaw snorted. "Old junk. People hide things in this castle all the time." Lady Evelyn's voice was shrill. "Don't look at me. I don't know her." Poirot's gaze moved from face to face, cataloguing their reactions. Clara's curiosity, Cobb's nerves, Moreau's quiet sadness, Grimshaw's dismissal, Lady Evelyn's fear. They all hid something. But the photograph, like the ruby and the scarf, was a piece of the puzzle. "We rest now," Poirot said, "but tomorrow we search Lady Evelyn's room. Her story of family rivalry interests me." Lady Evelyn gasped. "My room, how dare you?" Poirot's smile was polite but firm. "Madame, a man is dead, a woman was attacked, and secrets pile like stones. Your room may hold answers." The group dispersed, their doors locking with heavy clicks. In their room, Hastings sat, his revolver on the table. "Lady Evelyn's hiding something, Poirot. That story about her family sounds personal." Poirot nodded, spreading the clues on the table. Locket, scarf, ruby, journal pages, vial, and now the photograph. Personal, yes. Her family's feud with the Dunmores is a motive, but for murder we shall see. He opened the journal, reading a new entry. October 17th, 1905. "The Harrow estate knows too much. If they come for the jewels, I must act. The poison is my last resort." Hastings' eyes widened. "The Harrows, that's Lady Evelyn's family. Lord Dunmore was afraid of them." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Afraid, yes. But did they betray him, or he them? The photograph, the poison, the jewels, they are linked to this feud." The night was quiet now, the scraping gone, but the castle felt heavier, its shadows deeper. Poirot lay awake, his mind turning. Lady Evelyn's story was a crack in the mystery, but it was not the whole. Someone had poisoned Blake, attacked Clara, played the piano, left the ruby. Someone knew the castle's passages and secrets. Morning came, grey and cold. The guests gathered for breakfast, their faces tired, their eyes wary. Grimshaw served. Porridge, his movements slow. Clara scribbled in her notebook. Cobb read the journal. Moreau sketched. Lady Evelyn sat stiffly, her pearls tight around her neck. Poirot stood, his voice clear. "Madame Hercule, we will search your room now. Your family's history with the Dunmores is important. Will you allow it?" Lady Evelyn's face flushed. "This is outrageous, but fine, search it. You'll find nothing." They followed her. Upstairs, her room at the end of the corridor. It was tidy, her fur coat hung neatly, her suitcase packed. Poirot's eyes scanned every corner, his fingers brushing the furniture. Hastings checked the wardrobe, finding only clothes. Clara, watching, pointed to a small jewelry box on the dresser. "What's in there?" Lady Evelyn hesitated, then opened it, revealing earrings and a brooch. But Poirot's sharp eyes caught a folded paper tucked beneath. He pulled it out, unfolding a letter dated 10 years ago from her father, Evelyn. "The Dunmore jewels are ours by right. If they're found, claim them. The castle holds the truth." Poirot's voice was soft but sharp. "Madame, you did not mention this. Your father believed the jewels were his." "Why?" Lady Evelyn's hands shook. "It's old history. Father lost everything to the Dunmores. He thought they stole the jewels in a deal gone wrong. I came to find them, yes, but I didn't kill Blake." Clara's eyes narrowed. "You're nervous, Lady Evelyn. What else are you hiding?" "Nothing," she snapped, but her voice cracked. Poirot tucked the letter into his coat. "We shall see, madame. Your truth is half told. The rest will come." The group returned to the dining hall, the air thick with suspicion. Poirot spread the clues again, add in the new letter. "The Harrows and the Dunmores," he said. "A feud over jewels. Colonel Blake knew Lord Dunmore. Perhaps he knew of this feud. Perhaps he died for it." Cobb adjusted his glasses. "The journal mentions poison. Maybe the Harrows planned to kill Lord Dunmore." Moreau's voice was soft. "Or someone else. The photograph, why burn it?" Grimshaw snorted. "You're digging too deep. Let the dead rest." Poirot's eyes locked. "On him? The dead do not rest, Monsieur Grimshaw, nor does Poirot." The day passed, the castle quiet but tense. Poirot and Hastings searched the library again, finding a hidden drawer in the oak table. Inside was a single key, small and rusted, marked with a D. Poirot held it up, his eyes bright. "A key, Hastings. To what lock?" Hastings frowned. "The vault Clara mentioned. Or another passage." Poirot nodded. "We shall find out. But first we watch Lady Evelyn. Her secret is a door, and this key may open it." As night fell, the castle grew colder, the air heavy. The guests locked their doors, but a new sound broke the silencer, low, eerie whistle, like wind through a crack, but sharper, deliberate. Hastings sat up, his revolver ready. "Not again, Poirot. This place never stops." Poirot stood, his lantern raised. "The whistle is a call, Hastings. The killer moves, and we follow." The whistle came from the tower, its sound piercing the night. Poirot led the way, his mind burning with the clues. The locket, the scarf, the ruby, the journal, the vial, the photograph, the letter, the key. The heiress's secret was a step toward the truth, but the castle held more. Poirot would find it, no matter the cost. Chapter 7. The caretakers tailed the eerie whistle cut through the night, sharp and haunting, echoing from the tower of Castle Dunmore. Hercule Poirot stood in the cold corridor, his lantern casting a flickering glow on the stone walls. Captain Hastings, revolver in hand, shivered beside him, his breath visible in the chilly air. The castle seemed alive, its secrets whispering through the shadows. Each sound a piece of the puzzle Poirot was determined to solve. "Poirot, that whistle," Hastings whispered, his voice tight. "It's no wind. Someone's up there, playing. Tricks or worse." Poirot's dark eyes gleamed, his moustache twitching. Tricks, mon ami, or signals. The castle speaks, and we must listen. The whistle comes from the tower, where Clara was attacked. We go now. His mind raced over the clues. The anonymous letters, Clara's attack, the piano note, the broken vase, Colonel Blake's poisoned body, the locket, the ruby, the journal. Pages, the arsenic vial, the charred photograph, Lady Evelyn's letter, and the rusted key marked with a D. Each was a thread in a tangled web, and the whistle was a new strand. They moved swiftly, their footsteps soft on the creaky stairs. The other guests, Clara Vance, Dr. Alistair Cobb, Lady Evelyn Harrow, and Lucien Moreau, were in their rooms. Or so Poirot hoped. Grimshaw, the caretaker, had not appeared since dinner, his absence a shadow in Poirot's thoughts. Colonel Blake's murder had tightened the noose of suspicion, and Lady Evelyn's secret about her family's feud with the Dunmores had cracked open a motive. But the caretaker, with his silent steps and blank face, was a puzzle Poirot needed. To solve, the tower stairs were cold, the iron rusted under their feet. The whistle stopped as they climbed, replaced by a faint creak, like a door swaying. Poirot raised his lantern, its light cutting through the gloom. "Stay close, Hastings," he said. "The spider is near." They reached the tower room, its splintered table and dusty crates unchanged since Clara's attack. The secret passage stood open, its dark mouth silent. Poirot scanned the room, his eyes catching a new detail: small brass whistle lying. On the floor, its surface polished, free of dust. Hastings picked it up, frowning. This wasn't here before. Someone left it. Poirot nodded, taking the whistle. "Recently used, mon ami. The metal is warm. Someone was here moments ago." He slipped it into his coat, beside the locket, scarf, ruby, vial, photograph, letter and key. We searched the passage again. The whistle is a clue, but to what? They entered the passage, its walls slimy with moss, its air heavy with oil and earth. The Celtic symbols, circles, lines, crosses glowed faintly in the lantern's light, their meaning still a riddle. The passage led to the chamber with the stone table, now empty, and the rusted iron door, its lock broken from their last visit. Poirot paused, his ears straining. A faint shuffle came from beyond the door. "Someone's there," Hastings whispered, raising his revolver. Poirot's hand stopped him. "Quietly, Hastings. We do not shoot shadows." They eased the door open, revealing the small room with the wooden box, now empty, its ruby in Poirot's pocket. But a new sound came, a low, rasping breath, like someone struggling. Poirot raised his lantern, and there, slumped against the wall, was Grimshaw, his face pale, his hands clutching his chest. Blood stained his shirt, a small knife protruding. From his side, good heavens. Hastings rushed to him, kneeling. "Grimshaw, what happened?" Grimshaw's eyes fluttered, his voice weak. "They came for it. The truth, in the cellar." He coughed, blood flecking his lips. Poirot knelt, his voice urgent but calm. "Who, Monsieur Grimshaw? Who stabbed you?" Grimshaw's breath hitched. "Saw a shadow. 20 years ago. Dunmore I helped hide." His voice faded, his eyes closing. Poirot checked his pulse, his face grim. "He lives, but barely. Hastings, fetch Clara and Cobb. They must help. I stay with him." Hastings ran, his footsteps echoing. Poirot tore a strip from his handkerchief, pressing it to Grimshaw's wound. "Hold on, monsieur. Tell Poirot what you saw." Grimshaw's eyes opened, glazed with pain. Dunmore, the night he vanished. I saw him, with a man they fought, in the cellar, blood. Then he was gone. I hid the body. Poirot's eyes widened. You hid Lord Dunmore's body. Where? Grimshaw's voice was a whisper. Cellar, behind the barrels. False wall. I kept silent. For her. Poirot leaned closer. Lady Margaret. Grimshaw nodded weakly. She begged me, said it was for the jewels. His head lolled, his breath slowing. Hastings returned with Clara and Cobb, their faces shocked. Clara, bandaged tight, carried a first aid kit from her bag. Cobb, glasses fogged, stammered, "Is he alive?" "Barely," Poirot said. "Mademoiselle Vance tend his wound. Monsieur Cobb, help her. Hastings, we find the others." They left Clara and Cobb with Grimshaw, rushing to wake Lady Evelyn and Moreau. Lady Evelyn, in her nightgown, was furious, her pearls clutched tight. What now? Another attack. Moreau, paint-stained hands trembling, looked pale. I heard the whistle, thought it was the wind. Poirot's gaze was sharp. A whistle, Monsieur Moreau, left in the tower. And now Grimshaw is stabbed. Where were you? Moreau's eyes dropped. In my room, sketching. I didn't leave. Lady Evelyn snapped. This is insanity. First Blake, now Grimshaw. We're all doomed. Poirot raised a hand. Calm, madame. We return to Grimshaw. He has spoken of Lord Dunmore's fate. We must hear more. They hurried back to the tower chamber, where Clara had bandaged Grimshaw's wound, the knife removed and wrapped in cloth. Cobb sat beside him, reading the journal, his face pale. Grimshaw's breathing was shallow but steady. He's stable, Clara said, her voice firm, but he needs a doctor. The storm's eased, we can send for one. Poirot nodded. Good work, mademoiselle. But first, his story. Monsieur Grimshaw, you spoke of a body, of Lord Dunmore. Tell us. Grimshaw's eyes fluttered open, his voice a rasp. 20 years ago, I was young. Dunmore came to me, bleeding, in the cellar. Said a man attacked him. Over the jewels. I helped him hide, behind a false wall. Then he died. Lady Margaret told me to keep quiet, said it was for the family. Poirot's moustache twitched. And the jewels, where are they? Grimshaw coughed, wincing. Don't know, she took them, or someone did. I stayed to guard the secret. Cobb looked up, his glasses slipping. The journal mentions a vault. Maybe that's where they are. Clara's eyes narrowed. You helped hide a body, Grimshaw. That's why you're so cagey. Who attacked him? Grimshaw shook his head. Didn't see, just a shadow. Tall, strong. Then, tonight, same. Shadow stabbed me. Poirot's eyes gleamed. A shadow 20 years ago, and now. The past lives, Mies, Armis. We must find this false wall in the cellar. Lady Evelyn's voice was shrill. The cellar again. This place is a death trap. Moreau's voice was soft. The cellar. I saw a light there, nights ago, from my window. Poirot turned to him. A light, monsieur. Why not say before? Moreau shrugged, his hands trembling. Thought it was nothing. Poachers, maybe. Poirot's smile was cold. Poachers do. Not stab, monsieur. We go to the cellar now. They helped Grimshaw to the dining hall, laying him on a bench with blankets. Clara stayed to watch him, her notebook open. I'll keep him alive, she said. But hurry. The group moved to the cellar, its heavy door creaking open. The air was damp, the smell of earth and oil strong. Barrels and crates loomed in the lantern's light, their shadows twisting. Poirot led the way, his eyes scanning the walls. Grimshaw spoke of a false wall, he said, behind the barrels. Hastings pushed a barrel aside, revealing a stone wall, its seams uneven. Poirot tapped it, hearing a hollow echo. "Here," he said, pressing a loose stone. A panel groaned, sliding open to reveal a small alcove. Inside was a dusty sack, its contents heavy. Poirot opened it, revealing a bundle of papers and a single gold ring, engraved with a D. The papers were letters, written in Lady Margaret's hand. "Alistair, the Harrows will never forgive us. The jewels are safe, but the cost is too high," Hastings gasped. "More letters, and a ring. This is big, Poirot." Poirot nodded, his eyes bright. "Big, yes. The ring is Dunmore's. The letters confirm the feud with the Harrows. But where is the body?" Cobb adjusted his glasses. "Reading a letter. These mention a vault, like Clara said. Maybe it's deeper in the cellar." Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls, her voice trembling. "My father warned me about this place. He said the Dunmores were cursed." Moreau's hands traced the alcoves, walls, the symbols. "They're here too. Like in the passage. They lead somewhere." Poirot's gaze locked on him. "You see much, Monsieur Moreau. What else do you know?" Moreau looked away, silent. Poirot tucked the ring and letters into his coat, his mind racing. We returned to Grimshaw. His tale is not done. Back in the dining hall, Grimshaw was awake, sipping water Clara gave him. His face was grey, but his eyes were clear. "Find it," he whispered. Poirot held up the ring. "This, monsieur, and letters, but no body." "Where is it?" Grimshaw's voice was weak. "Deeper, behind the alcove, another panel. I sealed it. After he died." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "You sealed Lord Dunmore's body?" "Why?" Grimshaw coughed. "For her. Lady Margaret," she said. "It was the only way." Clara's pen stopped. "You're saying Lady Margaret covered up her husband's murder?" Why, Grimshaw's eyes closed. "To protect someone, don't know who." Poirot stood, his voice firm. "We go back to the cellar. The body is the key to this mystery." Lady Evelyn protested, but Poirot's glare silenced her. They returned to the cellar, pushing past the alcove to a second panel, hidden deeper. Poirot pressed it, and it opened, revealing a narrow chamber. Inside, a skeleton lay, its bones yellowed, its skull cracked. A rusted dagger lay beside it, its blade stained. Cobb gasped. "Lord Dunmore, it must be." Poirot knelt, examining the bones. "A wound to the head, and this dagger, murder, yes. But by whom?" Hastings pointed to a scrap of cloth near the skeleton, its edges frayed but marked with a monogram. "H. Harrow," he said. "Lady Evelyn's family." Lady Evelyn's face went white. "That's not mine, I swear." Poirot's smile was cold. "We shall see, madame. This cloth, this body, they speak of the past, and the past kills in the present." They returned to the dining hall, the skeleton left for... Now, Grimshaw was asleep, Clara watching him. Poirot spread the clues on the table. Locket, scarf, ruby, journal pages, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, and now the cloth. "The web tightens," he said. "Grimshaw's tale, the skeleton, the Harrow cloth, they point to betrayal." But whose? The day dragged on, the castle heavy with death and secrets. Poirot questioned each guest, their stories thin. Clara admitted to searching for the jewels, but denied murder. Cobb spoke of historical records, his hands shaking. Moreau sketched the skeleton, his eyes distant. Lady Evelyn insisted her family was innocent, her voice shrill. As night fell, a new sound broke the silencer, low rhythmic thud, like a hammer on wood. Hastings jumped, his revolver ready. Not again, Poirot. What's that? Poirot stood, his lantern raised. The castle calls. Hastings. The killer moves, and we follow. The thud came from the library, its rhythm steady, deliberate. Poirot led the way, his mind burning with the clues. Grimshaw's tale had opened a door, but the truth was still hidden. Castle Dunmore's secrets were unraveling, and Poirot was close to the heart of the mystery. Chapter 8. The second strike, the rhythmic thud, like a hammer striking wood, reverberated through Castle Dunmore's shadowy halls, pulling Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings from the dining hall. The air was cold, thick with the scent of damp, stone and old secrets, and the lantern's flickering light cast eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The storm outside had settled into a soft drizzle, but the castle felt alive, its mysteries tightening like a noose. Poirot's small frame moved with purpose, his polished shoes silent on the stone floor, while Hastings, revolver in hand, followed close, his face pale with tension. Poirot, that thud, Hastings whispered, his voice low. It's coming. From the library, same place we found Blake. This isn't good. Poirot's dark eyes gleamed, his moustache twitching. Nothing is good in a house of murder, mon ami, but every sound is a clue. The thud is deliberate, a call or a trap. We shall answer it. His mind raced over the growing pile of clues, the anonymous letters, Clara's attack, the piano note, the broken vase, Colonel Blake's poisoned body, the locket, the ruby, the journal pages, the arsenic vial, the charred photograph, Lady Evelyn's letter, the rusted key, the gold ring, Grimshaw's tale of hiding Lord Dunmore's body, the skeleton, and the monogrammed H-cloth. Now, this thud added another thread to the tangled web. They hurried through the corridors. The other guests, Clara Vance, Dr. Alistair Cobb, Lady Evelyn Harrow, and Lucien Moreau trailing behind, roused from their rooms by the noise. Grimshaw, bandaged and weak from his stabbing, stayed in the dining hall, watched by Clara's sharp eyes. The library door loomed ahead, its heavy wood ajar, the thudding louder now, steady and menacing. Poirot pushed the door open, his lantern raised. The library was as they'd left it, its shelves sagging with mouldy books. The oak table still covered with a cloth over Colonel Blake's body. But in the corner, near the hidden passage behind the shelf, Clara Vance lay crumpled, her red hair spilled across the floor, a fresh bruise on her cheek. A crumpled note was clutched in her hand, and a heavy candlestick lay beside her, its base stained with blood. Good heavens! Hastings rushed to her, kneeling. Clara, can you hear me? Poirot knelt beside her, checking her pulse. She lives, Hastings, but she is struck again. The candlestick was the weapon. He picked up the note, unfolding it carefully. Scrawled in sharp, hurried ink were the words, "The truth lies beneath." Lady Evelyn gasped, clutching her pearls. Another attack. This castle is cursed. Cobb adjusted his glasses, his hands shaking. She was in the dining hall with Grimshaw. How did she get here? Moreau's voice was soft, his paint stained, hands trembling. I saw her leave. Said she needed her notebook from the library. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And you did not stop her, Monsieur Moreau. After one attack and a murder. Moreau looked away, his face pale. I thought she'd be quick. Hastings helped Clara sit up, her eyes fluttering open. She groaned, touching her cheek. What happened? My head. Poirot's voice was gentle but firm. Mademoiselle Vance, you were struck. This note was in your hand. Do you remember anything? Clara frowned, her voice weak. I came for my notebook. Heard a thudding, like wood being hit. Then something hit me. That's all. Poirot held up the note. The truth lies beneath. What were you seeking, mademoiselle? Clara's eyes flicked to her notebook, lying open nearby, its pages marked with sketches of the castle's layout and notes about the jewels. I was following a lead. The villagers said there's a vault under the castle. I thought the library might have records. Poirot nodded, slipping the note. Into his coat beside the locket, scarf, ruby, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, and cloth. A vault, yes. The journal and letters mention it. But someone does not want you to find it. Lady Evelyn's voice was shrill. This is madness. First Blake, now Clara again. We're all in danger. Cobb stammered the note. It's like the journal. Beneath could mean the cellar, where we found the skeleton. Moreau's eyes lingered on the candlestick. The thudding. It stopped when we arrived. Someone was here. Poirot's gaze swept the room. Someone, yes. And they left this candlestick, this note, careless or deliberate. He examined the candlestick, noting no fingerprints but a faint smudge of paint on its base red. Like Moreau's supplies, he turned to Moreau. Monsieur, your hands are stained with paint. This candlestick has a mark. Explain. Moreau's face paled. Further, I sketch with paint. But I didn't touch that. I was in my room. Poirot's smile was cold. We shall see. For now, we take Mademoiselle Vance to safety. Then we search this library. Hastings and Cobb helped Clara to the dining hall, where Grimshaw lay on a bench, his bandages fresh, but his face grey. Clara sat, sipping water, her eyes sharp despite the pain. I'm not giving up, she muttered. Whoever hit me is scared. That means I'm close. Poirot nodded. Brave, mademoiselle, but reckless. Stay here with Grimshaw. The rest, come with me. They returned to the library, the air heavy with the smell of old books and blood. Poirot examined the hidden passage. Behind the shelf, its gap still open from Blake's murder. The thudding had come from here, he was sure. He stepped inside, the others following, their lanterns casting long shadows. The passage was narrow, its walls rough, its air stale. The Celtic symbol circles, lines, crosses continued, their carvings deeper here. The passage sloped downward, ending at a heavy stone door, its surface scratched, as if clawed by desperate hands. A small keyhole, rusted but intact, stared. Back-tot Hastings pointed to the key in Poirot's pocket. That key we found, the one with the D. Try it. Poirot inserted the key, turning it slowly. A click echoed, and the door groaned open, revealing a cavernous chamber, its ceiling low, its walls damp. In the center stood a stone sarcophagus, its lid cracked, its surface carved with the Dunmore crest a lion and a rose. Scattered around, it were broken tools, a hammer, a chisel, their handles worn but recently used. Cobb gasped, adjusting his glasses. A vault. This must be where the jewels are hidden. Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls, her voice trembling. Or where more bodies are. I'm not going near that thing. Moreau's hands traced the sarcophagus, his voice soft. It's heavy, like it holds more than jewels. Poirot knelt, examining the tools. These were used recently. The thudding we heard someone tried to open this sarcophagus. He pushed the lid, but it barely budged, its weight immense. Hastings frowned. Why leave the tools? If they were after the jewels, why stop? Poirot's eyes gleamed. Because we came, mon ami. The killer was interrupted. But what were they seeking? He scanned the chamber, finding a small alcove in the wall. Inside was a leather pouch, its contents heavy. He opened it, revealing a single emerald, its green glow catching the lantern's light. Lady Evelyn gasped. Another jewel. The treasure. Poirot's face was grim. One jewel, madame, not a treasure. A lure, perhaps, to draw us here. He tucked the emerald into his coat, his mind racing. The note, the thudding, the candlestick, the emerald, they were pieces of a deliberate plan. Cobb's voice was shaky. The journal mentioned a vault. This must be it. But why attack Clara? Poirot turned to him. Because, Monsieur Cobb, she seeks the same truth. The note says beneath, this vault is beneath the library. But there is more deeper, perhaps. They returned to the dining hall, the emerald heavy in Poirot's pocket. Clara, still pale, looked up. Find anything. Poirot held up the emerald, this, mademoiselle, and a sarcophagus, sealed tight. Someone tried to open it, and you were struck to keep you away. Grimshaw, awake now, coughed weakly. The vault, I heard stories. Lady Margaret said it was cursed. Never went near it. Poirot's eyes locked on him. Yet you knew of it, monsieur. What else do you know? Grimshaw's face tightened. Nothing. Just stories. Leave it be. Poirot's smile was cold. Poirot does not leave, monsieur. A man is dead, a woman. Attacked twice, and you are stabbed. The truth will not stay buried. The group sat, the air thick with suspicion. Poirot spread the clues on the table. Locket, scarf, ruby, journal pages, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, and now the emerald. The web grows, he said. The note speaks of truth beneath. The vault is part, but not all. We must find what lies deeper. Clara's eyes narrowed. The cellar, Grimshaw mentioned a false wall. Maybe there's more. Cobb nodded, clutching the journal. The journal says the fire hides the truth. We found the passage behind the fire. Maybe there's another in the cellar. Lady Evelyn's voice was shrill. You're all mad. Digging deeper will only get us killed. Moreau's hands trembled as he sketched the emerald. It's beautiful, but dangerous. Like this castle. Poirot stood, addressing the group. We rest now, but at dawn, we go to the cellar. The false wall, the vault, they hold the key. And someone here knows it. The guests dispersed, their doors locking with heavy clicks. In their room, Hastings sat, his revolver on the table. This is getting worse, Poirot. Clara attacked. Again, Grimshaw stabbed, Blake dead. Who's next? Poirot spread the clues, his eyes bright. Next, we find the killer, Hastings. The candlestick's paint, the note, the emerald, they are mistakes. The killer grows careless. He opened the journal, reading a new entry. October 18th, 1905. The vault is sealed. The jewels are safe, but the Harrows know. If they come, the poison is ready. Hastings frowned. The Harrows again. Lady Evelyn's hiding more than she says. Poirot nodded. Her secret is a door, but not the only one. Grimshaw's tale. The skeleton, the emerald, they point to a deeper truth. Someone protects it, or seeks it. The night was quiet, the castle heavy with death and secrets. Poirot lay awake, his mind turning. The whistle, the thudding, the note, they were signals, meant to distract or lure. The killer was among them, their moves bold but flawed. Poirot's little grey cells burned, piecing the puzzle together. A new sound broke the silence, faint rhythmic tapping, like fingers on glass. Hastings sat up, his revolver ready. Not again, Poirot. What's that? Poirot stood, his lantern raised. The castle calls, Hastings. The killer moves, and we follow. The tapping came from the corridor, near Clara's room. Poirot led the way, his mind alight with the clues. Locket, scarf, ruby, journal, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, emerald. The second strike had revealed more, but the truth was still beneath. Poirot would dig until it was found. Chapter 9. Beneath the castle, the faint tapping, like fingers on glass, echoed through Castle Dunmore's shadowy corridors, pulling Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings from their room. The air was cold, heavy with the scent of damp stone and old secrets, and the lantern's flickering light cast eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The storm outside had faded to a soft drizzle, but the castle felt alive, its mysteries tightening like a trap. Poirot's small frame moved with purpose, his polished shoes silent on the stone floor, while Hastings, revolver in hand, followed close, his face tense with worry. "Poirot, that tapping," Hastings whispered, his voice low. "It's coming. From Clara's room. After her second attack. This can't be good." Poirot's dark eyes gleamed, his moustache twitching. "The tapping is a signal, mon ami, like the whistle, the thud, the piano note. Someone plays a game, and Poirot will not lose." His mind raced over the clues. The anonymous letters, Clara's attacks, the piano note, the broken vase, Colonel Blake's poisoned body. The locket, the ruby, the journal pages, the arsenic vial, the charred photograph, Lady Evelyn's letter, the rusted key, the gold ring, the monogrammed H, cloth, the cryptic note, the emerald, and Grimshaw's tale of hiding Lord Dunmore's body. The tapping was another thread in the tangled web, and Poirot was determined to unravel it. They reached Clara's door, its wood scratched and heavy. Poirot knocked sharply, his voice calm but firm. "Mademoiselle Vance, it is Poirot. Open the door." A faint groan came from inside, followed by slow footsteps. The door creaked open, revealing Clara, her bandage fresh, her face pale but her eyes sharp. "I heard it too," she said, clutching her notebook. "Tapping on the window. But it's too high up, nobody could reach it." Poirot stepped inside, his lantern raised. The room was small, its single window boarded, but a faint crack let in a sliver of moonlight. The tapping had stopped, but a small stone lay on the floor, its surface wet, as if thrown from outside. Poirot picked it up, his fingers careful. "Thrown, yes," he said, "but not from the ground. The window is too high." Someone was on the roof. Hastings' eyes widened. The roof, in this weather. Who'd do that? Poirot's smile was grim. Someone desperate, mon ami. Someone who wants us to look or look away. He tucked the stone into his coat, Beside the locket, scarf, ruby, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, and emerald. Mademoiselle Vance, you are safe now. Rest, but lock the door. We go to the cellar. Grimshaw's tale and the notes speak of truth beneath. Clara nodded, her jaw set. I'm coming. I'm not letting whoever hit me win. Poirot's eyebrow rose. Brave, but unwise. Your wounds are fresh. Stay with Grimshaw. He needs watching. Clara frowned but agreed, locking the door as they left. Poirot and Hastings gathered the others, Dr. Alistair Cobb, Lady Evelyn Harrow, and Lucien Morofram. Their rooms, Grimshaw, still weak from his stabbing, remained in the dining hall, bandaged and watched by Clara. The group's faces were pale, their trust frayed by Blake's murder and Clara's second attack. Poirot held up the stone. Mies Amos, a stone was thrown at Mademoiselle Vance's window. A signal, perhaps, or a warning. The note from the library said the truth lies beneath. Grimshaw spoke of a false wall in the cellar. Hiding Lord Dunmore's body, we go. There now, Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls, her voice shrill. The cellar again, after a murder and 2 attacks. You're mad. Cobb adjusted his glasses, his hands shaking. The journal mentions a vault. If the body's there, it could explain everything. Moreau's voice was soft, his paint-stained hands trembling. The symbols, they lead downward. I saw them. In my sketches, the cellars, the key. Poirot's gaze locked on him. You see much, Monsieur Moreau. Your sketches show them. Moreau hesitated, then pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket, covered in rough drawings of the castles, passages and symbols. One sketch showed a spiral, like a staircase, leading to a chamber marked with a lion and a rose the Dunmore crest. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Well done, monsieur. This spiral we find it. To the cellar, the group moved, their lanterns casting long shadows. The cellar door creaked open, its air damp and heavy with the smell of earth and oil. Barrels and crates loomed, their shadows twisting in the flickering light. Poirot led the way to the false wall they'd found before, behind the barrels, where the skeleton and the gold ring had been hidden. The alcove was empty now, but Grimshaw's words echoed deeper. Behind the alcove, another panel. Poirot tapped the back wall, hearing a hollow echo. Here, he said, pressing a loose stone. A low groan sounded as a second panel slid open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air was colder, sharper, with a faint metallic Thames. Hastings shivered, his revolver ready. This feels like a tomb, Poirot. Worse than the passages. Poirot's voice was steady. A tomb, perhaps, but one that speaks. We go down. They descended, the stairs slick with moss, the walls carved with more Celtic symbols, circles, lines, crosses, now joined by spirals. The staircase twisted, ending at a vast chamber, its ceiling supported by crumbling pillars. In the center stood a stone sarcophagus, larger than the one in the library vault, its lid sealed tight, its surface carved with the Dunmore crest. Beside it lay a skeleton, its bones yellowed, its skull cracked, clutching a velvet pouch. The pouch was empty, but a single ruby matching the one in Poirot's pocket lay nearby, its red glow catching the lantern's light. Cobb gasped, his glasses fogging. Lord Dunmore, it's him, the skeleton from Grimshaw's story. Lady Evelyn backed away, her pearls clicking. This is horrible. Why are we here? Moreau's hands traced the sarcophagus, his voice soft. It's heavy with loss. The jewels were here, but they're gone. Poirot knelt, examining the skeleton. A wound to the head, like the other. Murder, yes. And this rubelet. Behind, like the emerald. A pattern. He picked up the ruby, adding it to his coat. The pouch is empty, but it held more. The jewels are scattered or taken. Hastings pointed to the sarcophagus. What's in there? Grimshaw said. Body was hidden, but this skeleton's out here. Poirot nodded, his eyes bright. A good question, mon ami. We must open it. He examined the lid, finding fresh scratches, like those on the library vault. Someone tried to open this recently. The thudding, perhaps. Cobb adjusted his glasses, reading from the journal. It says, "The vault is sealed. The jewels are safe. This must be the vault." Poirot called to Hastings and Moreau. "Your strength, messieurs." Push the lid. They heaved. The stone grinding against stone, the same thudding sound they'd heard. The lid slid open, revealing a dark hollow. Inside was a single object, a small, leather-bound book, its cover marked with the Dunmore crest. Poirot opened it, finding pages filled with coded writing. Numbers and letters in a strange pattern. A code, Poirot said, his voice low. Lord Dunmore's final secret. The jewels' location, perhaps. Lady Evelyn's voice was shrill. Jewels. After all this, just a book. This castle is a trap. Moreau's eyes lingered on the code. It's beautiful, like art, but dangerous. Poirot tucked the book into his coat, his mind racing. Dangerous, yes. Someone killed. For this secret, attacked for it. We return now, but this book will speak. They climbed back to the dining hall, the air heavy with the weight of their find. Clara, still watching Grimshaw, looked up as they entered. "What did you find?" Poirot held up the book. "A coded journal, mademoiselle, and Lord Dun... skeleton with a ruby. The truth lies beneath, as your note said." Grimshaw, awake but weak, coughed. "The vault, I told you." Lady Margaret sealed it, said it was for him. Poirot's eyes locked on him. "For Lord Dunmore, monsieur, or for someone else? You hid his body. Who helped you?" Grimshaw's face tightened. "No one, just me and her." Clara's pen, scratched in her notebook. Her Lady Margaret, or someone else. Grimshaw's eyes closed, his voice fading. "Don't know, just shadows." Poirot turned to the group. "The skeleton confirms Grimshaw's tale. Lord Dunmore was murdered, his body hidden. The coded book holds the key to the jewels and, perhaps, the killer. We must decode it." Cobb adjusted his glasses, eager. "I know codes. Let me see it." Poirot handed him the book, watching his face. "Careful, Monsieur Cobb. Knowledge is dangerous here." The group sat, the air thick with suspicion. Poirot spread the clues on the table. Locket, scarf, rubies, journal pages, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, emerald, and now the coded book. "The web tightens," he said. "The tapping, the thudding, the attacks, they point. To this vault, someone knows its secret." Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls, her voice trembling. "My family's feud was with the jewels, not murder. I'm no killer." Clara glared. "You're nervous, Lady Evelyn. And that H cloth your family's mark." Lady Evelyn's face flushed. "It's not mine. Someone's framing me." Moreau's hands trembled as he sketched the sarcophagus. "The symbols, they're in the code. I can feel it." gaze locked on him. "You feel much, Monsieur Moreau." "What do you know?" Moreau looked away, silent. Poirot turned to Cobb. "Monsieur, work on the code, but share everything. No secrets." The day dragged on, the castle heavy with death and fear. Poirot and Hastings searched Clara's room, finding a torn page in her notebook. Its writing frantic, vault under library, jewels or death. Poirot tucked it away, his mind burning. Clara was close to the truth, and someone wanted her silent. As night fell, the castle grew colder, the air thick. The guests locked their doors, but a new sound broke the silencer low. Mournful hum, like the piano note from before, but deeper, coming from the cellar. Hastings sat up, his revolver ready. "Not again, Poirot. What's that?" Poirot stood, his lantern raised. "The castle calls, Hastings. The truth is beneath, and we must go deeper." The hum grew louder, echoing from the cellar stairs. Poirot led the way, his mind alight with the clues. Locket, scarf, rubies, journal, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, emerald, coded book. The second strike had revealed the vault, but the killer was still hidden. Poirot would dig until the truth was found. Chapter 10. The truth unravelled. The mournful hum, deep and haunting, echoed from the cellar of Castle Dunmore, pulling Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings from their room in the dead of night. The air was cold, thick with the scent of damp stone and old secrets, and the lantern's flickering light cast eerie shadows on the cracked walls. The storm outside had faded to a faint drizzle, but the castle felt alive, its mysteries tightening like a noose around the truth. Poirot's small frame moved with purpose, his polished shoes silent on the stone floor, while Hastings, revolver in hand, followed close, his face pale with dread. "Poirot, that hum," Hastings whispered, his voice tight. "It's like the piano note, but worse. It's coming from the cellar where we found the skeleton." "What's next?" Poirot's dark eyes gleamed, his mustache twitching. "Next, mon ami, we find the truth. The hum is a final call, a signal from the killer." They grow bold, but careless. Poirot's little grey cells are ready. His mind burned with the clues. The anonymous letters, Clara's attacks, the piano note, the broken vase, Colonel Blake's poisoned body, the locket, the rubies, the journal pages, the arsenic vial, the charred photograph, Lady Evelyn's letter, the rusted key, the gold ring, the monogrammed H-cloth, the cryptic note, the emerald, the coded book, and Grimshaw's tale of hiding Lord Dunmore's body. The hum was the last thread in the tangled web, and Poirot was ready to unravel it. They gathered the guests Clara Vance, Dr. Alistair Cobb, Lady Evelyn Harrow, and Lucien Moreau from their rooms, their faces pale with fear and suspicion. Grimshaw, still weak from his stabbing, lay in the dining hall, watched by Clara, who refused to stay behind despite her injuries. "I'm coming," she said, her bandage tight, her notebook clutched. "I've been hit twice. I want the truth." Poirot nodded, his voice calm but firm. "Very well, mademoiselle, but stay close. The killer is among us, and the cellar holds the final secret." The group moved to the cellar door, its heavy wood creaking as they opened it. The air was damp, heavy with the smell of earth and oil, and the lanterns cast long shadows across. The barrels and crates. The hum grew louder, a deep vibration that seemed to pulse from the stone walls. Poirot led the way to the false wall they'd found before, where the skeleton of Lord Dunmore and the gold ring had been hidden. The second panel, leading to the deeper chamber with the sarcophagus, stood open, its darkness beckoning. Hastings shivered. His revolver ready. "This place is a tomb, Poirot. That hum, it's unnatural." Poirot's smile was grim. "Unnatural, perhaps, but human. Always human. The hum is a trick, like the piano note, the whistle, the tapping. We find its source." They descended. The narrow staircase, the Celtic symbols, circles, lines, crosses, spirals glowing faintly in the lantern's light. The chamber with the sarcophagus loomed ahead, its lid still ajar from their last visit, the coded book now in Cobb's hands. The hum was deafening now, vibrating through the stones. And Poirot's eyes scanned the chamber, catching a faint glint in the corner, a small metal pipe hidden in a crack, emitting the sound. Poirot knelt, examining it. "A device," he said, pulling it free. The hum stopped, the silence heavy. "A whistle pipe, hidden to frighten us. Someone placed it here, recently." Clara's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp despite her pain. "The killer, they're playing with us, trying to scare us off." Lady Evelyn clutched her pearls, her voice shrill. "This is madness. A pipe, a skeleton. I'm leaving this cursed place." Cobb adjusted his glasses, clutching the coded book. "The code, I've been working on it. It's a cipher, numbers for letters. I think it points to the sarcophagus." Moreau's paint-stained hands trembled as he sketched the chamber. "The symbols, there in the code. It's like a map." Poirot's gaze locked on him. "A map, Monsieur Moreau." "To what?" Moreau hesitated, his eyes dropping. "I don't know, just a feeling." Poirot tucked the pipe into his coat, beside the locket, scarf, rubies, journal, pages, vial. Photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, emerald, and coded book. "The sarcophagus holds more than we found. We open it fully." Hastings and Moreau pushed the lid, the stone grinding heavily. Inside was a hollow space, lined with velvet, containing a single object, a diamond, its facets sparkling in the lantern's light, larger than the ruby or emerald. Beside it was a folded letter, its paper yellowed but intact, written in Lady Margaret's hand. "Alistair, if you read this, I've failed. The jewels are yours, but the truth will destroy us. Forgive me." Poirot's eyes gleamed. The diamond, another jewel, and this letter a confession, perhaps. He read it aloud, the group silent, their faces tense. Clara's pen scratched in her notebook. Lady Margaret knew something. She hid the jewels, but why? Cobb's voice was shaky. "The code, I cracked part of it. It says, the lion guards the heart, the Dunmore crest lion and rose. The sarcophagus is the heart." Lady Evelyn's face flushed. "My family was right. The Dunmores hid the jewels to cheat us." Poor voice was sharp. "Your family, madame, had a feud. But murder, we shall see." He turned to the sarcophagus, examining its base. A small panel, hidden in the carving of the lion, clicked under his fingers, revealing a secret compartment. Inside was a velvet pouch, heavy with the weight of more jewels, sapphires, emeralds, rubies. All gleaming. The group gasped, their eyes wide. Hastings whispered, "The Dunmore treasure. We found it." Poirot's face was grim. "Found, yes, but at what cost? A man is dead, another stabbed, a woman attacked twice. These jewels are cursed by blood." A sudden shuffle came from the staircase, and Poirot spun, his lantern raised. Lucien Moreau stood there, his face pale, his hands shaking. But his eyes were sharp, and in his hand was a small knife, its blade glinting. Moreau, Hastings, raised his revolver. "What are you doing?" Moreau's voice was low, trembling. I can't let you take them. The jewels, they're mine." Poirot's eyes narrowed, his voice calm but piercing. "Yours, monsieur, explain." Moreau. Hands shook, the knife wavering. "My mother, she was a Dunmore, a cousin cast out by the family. She told me about the jewels, said they were our birthright. I came to find them. I sent the letters." Clara gasped. "You sent the anonymous letters. You brought us here." Moreau nodded, his eyes wild. "I needed help to find the vault. I knew the stories, the passages, but Blake, he knew too much. He recognized me, knew my mother's name. I poisoned him." Poirot's mustache twitched. "And Clara, you struck her?" "Twice." Moreau's voice broke. "She was too close. Her notes, her questions. I had to stop her." Lady Evelyn screamed, backing away. "You're a monster," Cobb stammered. "The paint on the candlestick. Your paint, Moreau." Moreau's eyes dropped, the knife falling. I didn't mean to kill. I just wanted the jewels." Poirot stepped forward, his voice steady, and Grimshaw. "You stabbed him." Moreau shook his head. "No, that wasn't me, I swear." Poirot's gaze was piercing. "Then who, monsieur? Speak, or the truth will bury you." Before Moreau could answer, a groan came from the staircase. Grimshaw staggered in, his bandages bloodied, his face grey. "It was Cobb," he rasped. "I saw him in the tower. He stabbed me." Cobb's glasses slipped, his face pale. "Lies. I'm a historian, not a killer." Poirot turned to him, his eyes like steel. "Monsieur Cobb, your hands shake. Your glasses fog. You know the Dunmores, the codes, the passages. You sought the jewels too, yes." Cobb backed away, his voice trembling. I wanted the history, the journals, the secrets. But I didn't kill." Poirot's smile was cold. "Yet you knew the passages, the vault. You stabbed Grimshaw to silence him, as he hid Lord Dunmore's body. And Lord Dunmore, your ancestor." Perhaps Cobb's face crumpled. "No, my father worked for the Dunmore. He knew their secrets, told me about the jewels. I came to find them, to prove myself. Grimshaw caught me searching the tower. I panicked." Clara's eyes flashed. "You stabbed him, and Blake." Cobb shook his head wildly. "Not Blake. That was Moreau." Poirot raised a hand, silencing them. "Enough. The truth is clear. Monsieur Moreau, you sent the letters, poisoned Blake, struck Clara to protect your claim. Monsieur Cobb, you stabbed Grimshaw to hide your search. But Lord Dunmore's murder 20 years ago, who was it?" Grimshaw coughed, his voice weak. "The Harrow man, Lady Evelyn's father. I saw him fight Dunmore in the cellar. He struck him, took the jewels. Lady Margaret begged me to hide the body." Lady Evelyn gasped, her pearls falling to the floor. "My father, no. He was cheated, not a killer." Poirot's eyes softened, but his voice was firm. "Madame, your father killed Lord Dunmore for the jewels. Lady Margaret hid them, and you came to reclaim them. The cloth with the H, your family's mark." Lady Evelyn sobbed, collapsing. "I didn't know. I just wanted justice." Poirot turned to the group, his voice steady. "The web is unraveled. Moreau, you killed Blake and attacked Clara. Cobb, you stabbed Grimshaw. Lady Evelyn, your father's crime began this chain. The jewels, cursed by greed, brought you all here. Hastings lowered his revolver, his face grim. What? Now, Poirot, the storm's over. We can get help. Poirot nodded. We take them to the village. The constable will deal with Moreau and Cobb. Madame Harrow, your father's crime is past, but you must face it. Clara, still pale, closed her notebook. I've got my story, but it's bloodier than I wanted. Grimshaw coughed, his eyes closing. I kept her secret. Lady Margaret, I'm sorry. Poirot placed a hand on his shoulder. You did what you thought right, monsieur. Rest now. The group returned to the dining hall, the jewels left in the vault for the authorities. Poirot spread the clues one last time. Locket, scarf, rubies, journal, vial, photograph, letter, key, ring, cloth, note, emerald, coded book. The castle's secrets are open, he said. The truth lies not in jewels, but in human heart's greed. Fear, betrayal. As dawn broke, the drizzle stopped, and a faint sun pierced the clouds. The group prepared to leave, their faces heavy with truth. Poirot stood by the dining hall window, the locket in his hand, Lady Margaret's face staring back. The past is settled, Hastings, he said, but the heart of Castle Dunmore will never forget. They left the castle, its towers looming behind them, silent now, but heavy with memory. The truth was found, the killer unmasked, and Poirot's little grey cells rested, ready for the next mystery.